I start each podcast with one question. Where were you born?
I was born in Arlington, actually, and I lived there for a little bit, up until about 4. And it was a fairly, decent kind of suburban vibe. But a drive-by happened near my house from what I remember. And then my parents were like, you know what? No more Arlington. And then we moved out to kind of Roanoke in between Fort Worth and Denton, if you know where that is.
I know Fort Worth and I know Denton. I don't know much of the in-betweens.
Yeah, it's probably about 20 minutes from Fort Worth. And, have you ever heard of, Grapevine and Southlake?
Yeah.
Okay, it's right next to those.
Isn't there like a Buc-ee's around there somewhere?
Yes, actually. Yeah, right next to the Texas Motor Speedway. It's 10 minutes from my parents' place.
And your parents are still out there?
Yeah, we're doing that, and then we also just started a company out of that house selling foundation repairs. So we walk in and measure people's houses and I'll write up the construction repair plan to get that house fixed up. And we've just been doing that recently.
So is that the career outside of comedy?
Yeah, right now. Honestly, in my perception, it's more of my job at the moment. It's what makes the money. It what kind of makes sure I can do this, but it's not the career in my opinion. I don't love it. It's just something I get to do, and it's kind of interesting. It's got its high points and its low points, but this is what I want to do. I want to do podcasting and stand up and shit like that.
I don't think I've ever met anyone that does, outside of science, outside of maybe teaching or being a doctor, lawyer, whatever, entertainment, that really loves their job. I've never met an accountant that's like, numbers.
Yeah.
That's my jam. Or foundation repair. I know what it is because a friend of mine had his house elevation reports and plumbing tests and all this stuff very recently. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Sounds boring, bro. I'll be completely honest with you. Just a bunch of numbers.
It's really boring. The only good thing about it is because I just luckily understand it fairly well, and most people have no idea what's going on with foundation, especially if you're new to Texas, because Texas's shit is just out of whack.
Yeah, we learned that. Your ground is not solid. And I came from L.A. We had earthquakes, bro.
Exactly.
When we didn't worry about our land.
Y'all had a fault line, but we have a place called Castle Hills where the elasticity rate of the dirt is 9 inches, so it can contract 4.5 and expand 4.5.
You mean the one place next to Louisville? Is
Um,
that Castle Hills?
No, this is kind of over by Nebraska Furniture Mart.
Exact same thing. By the colony.
Okay,
it's in Louisville.
Yeah. Okay, I was getting it mixed up, but yes, right next to Louisville. That place, if you build a house there, you basically have to come in with custom shit from the jump because your house will sink into the ground.
My house was in Castle Hills.
Really?
Yeah, that's where all the previous episodes were done.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
is that what you were saying? You learned
Yeah, we learned from that whole experience because when we bought our house, we had no idea about foundation reports and all this other stuff, and they were like, "Here you go," and we were like, "What?" And the ground moves in Texas, and it moves a lot, and you don't know what's gonna happen. But I guess whoever did the reinforcement of the foundation and stuff, it's fine.
Yeah.
You're just whatever.
Yeah, if you get a good company, honestly, after you put those piers in the ground, the house is better than the day it was poured because it's just coming with basically if you don't know what we're talking about, when you put in a pier, it's the idea of building a house on stilts, but those stilts are now underground. So it just kind of gives it that stability and also keeps it from dropping down lower.
So I have no idea about any of this stuff, so I'm learning it, I guess, as much as the audience would be. So question is, is the entire point is you guys dig down and put these piers so far into the bedrock or something where the loose ground doesn't really give it an issue anymore, or is it something completely different?
You're really close, actually. So we dig a 5 foot by a 2 foot by 2 foot by 5 foot hole underneath the bottom of the slab of the house. And then from there, we use the weight of the house and a gigantic engine-driven piston and drive these piers into the ground, one on top of the other and on top of the other, and up until we basically make rock. We can't actually say scientifically we made rock because it's technically off, but we've pushed 15 feet of dirt into 2 feet that it's just with all the heat from all the friction and compressing it so much that you've basically made what's called a load-bearing strata, which is the point of refusal. So you can't push it down any lower without the house going up.
Got it. So you're kind of building a pressure point and, something under that how we got diamonds, like a lot of pressure, but a little less. So it's all, I get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
For anybody that's wondering, you ever watch stuff on a hydraulic press on YouTube that doesn't fully crush? That means it's stronger than the hydraulic. That's kind of what you're doing. You're getting to that point where it's almost going to lift it back up, but not.
Yeah.
So it sticks.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Basically, yeah. And then so what we do from there is like we come in with like a hand crank, and then after all of that is done and we've made the load-bearing strata of quote-unquote rock, and the piers are sitting on that, we come in with a tiny little hand jack. And at that point, we're just fine-tuning and finessing your house back into its original position. And like I said, it gets boring. It really does. But it's interesting in a way because I get to do something with science even though I'm a dumbass. I'm not like an intelligent man. I'm just regular.
Did you go to college?
Yeah, I did, but I cheated a lot.
You know what? I kind of had this conversation with someone younger than me, but at some point I just needed to explain to them that stop. Life is not fair. It will never, ever be fair. And the reason cheating exists is because somebody got caught. The rest of them didn't.
Yeah.
That's it. Once the internet was given to us as like kids in high school and in college, we all cheated, bro. We all cheated. It was just some of us were smart enough to cite shit at the bottom of the page and got away with it because that was the rules.
Exactly.
I've never understood that crap. Never will understand it. But I can put in 4 paragraphs of somebody else's novel, cite the motherfucker at the end and be like, cool.
Yeah.
Reached to 10,000 words. Have a good day.
Exactly. Once you're a college student and you realize that teacher that assigned 15-page papers also has to read 15-page papers from everyone else in your 100-person class.
Yeah.
They're not going to read every fucking word out of your paper. So you can throw some fluff in there and just fucking get by. Like, I would just take a rubric and then just go off of that. I'd never actually read what we were supposed to read or even read the dynamic of what we were supposed to explain. I'd just grab the rubric and hit every marker, and then from there I just fucking cheat all the time.
It's kind of what everybody did.
Exactly.
So what was your degree in?
So I actually got a major in criminal justice.
That's the greatest shit in the world.
I say that
this
also.
This is why the justice system is so fucked.
That's exactly why I got the fuck out.
That is the greatest shit in the world.
I know, man.
Jesus. Short of saying you wanted to go into the priesthood, I would have like, what are you cheating on there?
Yeah, so I was cheating on anything under the sun. From
kids don't cheat, but if you're going to, don't talk about it on a podcast later.
Or don't get caught.
But there is no statute of limitation, so they can't take your degree away. Or
exactly.
Like,
and
yours.
even if
Just
they
keep
did,
it.
I'm not going to be a cop, and you don't want me to be a cop.
Why not? Wait a second. Why not? Why does it always have to be some other version of a human being that should be a cop? Why can't it just be a regular dude? Regular dude that's athletic, that has a college degree. You meet the markers. You could have been a police officer, or still can be. But be a comic. It'll be more fun.
It'll be way more fun.
Now, it'd be funnier if you were a cop and a comic. That would be ridiculous.
I thought about doing that for a half a second, but I really fell in love
exists.
with weed. There are a couple, but like they never make it big.
I met a firefighter who's also a comedian. The same night I saw you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was the dude with the mustache guy.
The shorter.
No, taller guy. He looked like the quintessential '80s firefighter calendar kind of guy.
I probably saw him.
Really funny dude. Really nice. Everybody likes him. Some good jokes. Some good crowd work. Lost us a couple of times there, but he was pretty funny throughout his set. He did a longer set than some of the other guys. He wasn't an open micer. He was prior to the open mic.
Oh, okay.
I think he was part of the drop-in show.
Gotcha. I'm trying to
Again,
think
I apologize for not remembering your
yeah,
name.
I probably know him too because the drop-in show was Chandler and Nathan, and I fucking love those guys.
Yeah, Chandler and Nathan are awesome. So I saw Chandler the first time on Kill Tony, his debut episode.
Really?
I literally met, I didn't see him live, but I saw him when the episode debuted, and I wrote him on Instagram. I was like, dude, that was hilarious.
I fucking love his Kill Tony clip.
And there's only like 2 or 3 people. I'm sorry to cut you off, but only 2 or 3 people that have genuinely kind of hit me that way off of Kill Tony as open micers, and I'm like, I got to contact. It was Chandler Valencia. The second person is Aaron Belial. That
Okay.
guy's ridiculously funny.
I'll have to look him up.
Aaron Belial is the gentleman that can't speak. He uses a speaker and he puts the mic on it.
I've seen his clips. He's fucking great.
He's a murderer.
Yes.
He's a murderer.
Yeah.
So there's been a few people I've tried to contact, but when I found out Chandler was Dallas local, I actually went out and saw him and
Oh yeah.
think he's funny, and I was like, I'd like to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, man, Chandler's awesome, and he's really cool. Like recently, he put me on a show at the Frisco Rail Yard a while back, and an outside show for comics is like known to be like a hold up, like,
Right.
It's gonna be tough, and we had a fucking blast. I have no idea if anyone in the crowd had a blast, but we as the comics were having a great time, which just makes it kind of better.
Unfortunately, I was invited to that, and I had to be in LA for some.
You got to be in
stuff.
LA. It was freezing cold and so windy at this place.
So unfortunately, I missed it, but I did hear it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think Chandler said editing is almost done on the videos and stuff.
Cool.
So hopefully all of us will get to see it online. And
Yeah,
I'm
man.
happy to kind of post it everywhere once I have
Awesome,
access
man.
to
I
it.
appreciate that. Yeah.
But I didn't know you were even on. How'd it go?
I liked it, and that was right at the start of my first 10 minutes I had that I liked, because I had 10 minutes before, but I didn't like doing it. But I knew I had 10 minutes, and that's what I could do, and I just needed the stage time to keep like going.
So to that effect, how long have you been doing stand-up?
I've been doing it. I just passed 9 months, so
Very cool.
about 9.5 months. Just the first Friday of every month is what starts it. It's a cool little counter. And shout out to the first place I ever got to do it, Shannon Brewery in Keller, Texas. It's a cool little intimate room.
Okay.
It's in like the back of a brewery, and it's so tight that your fucking laughs will pop. And once you get a couple pops there, it's the perfect room to start crowd work. If everyone's like playing along with you.
You got the right low ceiling, dark room,
Exactly.
a little bit of sauced up,
And-
now
and-
everybody's happy.
And something about bar stools and not chairs with backs on them just makes people actively like lean forward because everyone's back and core is shit.
Yeah.
So they're just leaning in on the show, and it's kind of forcing them to pay attention. And like you get a fucking good response.
Do you remember your first joke?
Actually, yes. I wrote it on my way walking up to the stage, and and it was just
That's
because I
awesome.
was so nervous. I'm like, okay, I'm so nervous, and the comic would talk about that. So like, I tried to like do my best, and I'm like, okay, if y'all see me shaking, it's not because I'm nervous. It's just because I'm holding back a nervous poop. And like, that's all it was. And it was like, it got enough of a pop to where after that, I felt comfortable rolling into now a blackout because I don't remember the rest of the set.
Which is normal.
Yeah, I was pretty nervous, but you know the crowd that was there was awesome too. They like, that's one thing that I love about comedy in and of itself. That, like, people are way nicer than I expected. I figured like 50-50 nice guys to just assholes, and it is outliers of assholes.
So how old are you now?
I'm 22.
That's the reason. You, and not like I was part of that crowd or that scene ever. I'm not a stand-up comic.
Yeah,
But if you read enough or you listen to
that
like
old
the
school New York scene.
not just New York, it was New York, it was Boston, it was Chicago. There was a lot of bullshit in LA where comics hated other, because the hate stemmed from, and this isn't coming from me, this is coming from a bunch of comedians that kind of came up in that era who have spoken about it. They say the same thing. It's like, look, there was a Tonight Show, there was a late night show, there was possibly a few spots on like NBC, ABC for a sitcom to start up, like a Seinfeld type, and that was it.
Yeah,
You know, there wasn't this whole, the Eddie Murphy thing is like a one-off. The Kevin Hart thing was like a one-off where you become this
huge dude.
huge superstar, not just a comedian, but also an actor, also a this, also like the Kevin Hart name is a brand, right?
Yeah,
The same way Eddie Murphy is a brand. He's a comedian. He's done a lot. He's done music. He's done countless movies. I think there was even a TV show at some point that he probably produced or something. But like,
I think so. That sounds familiar.
there is this huge wheelhouse of work, but it's such rarefied air.
Yeah,
That's why I think there was so much competition and hate towards each other back then.
they were just jealous.
Part of it is jealousy. Part of it was I can't allow somebody else to take a spot I might possibly have. So why would I help anybody out?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like you still gotta have a little bit of that selfishness in it. Like this isn't I used to be like a real big give my shirt off my back kind of guy. And I learned early on, like, you can still be a nice dude without just, like, giving everything away, like your time, energy, all the things you have. And if you want to do comedy, like, you got to be a little bit selfish.
You have to be a lot of bit selfish.
Yeah.
Because the day you're not selfish and you're not altruistic, I mean that you are altruistic, you lose sight of that objective of I want to be a stand-up comedian.
Yes.
This is why almost all the seasoned vets will always tell you it's a young man's game. Before you have responsibilities that are real.
Yeah.
Look, being a few days late on a credit card payment, nobody cares.
Yeah.
But if you got a wife or you've got kids or you've got a job and other, you know what I mean? Like responsibilities that actually are responsibilities.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you don't pay the damn bills, other people are going to call you and be like, dude, we're hungry. There's no food. You know what I mean? Like there's all this that can occur. So that's the selfishness that should exist as a stand-up comedian because it should be kind of engulfing your life.
Yeah.
At least I look at it like any other passion or in the arts. If you're not all in, you'll never make it.
Exactly.
You just won't. You can't be a doctor that moonlights as a comedian. The number one example of that is the guy from The Hangover.
Ken Jeong?
Ken Jeong. He was an actual physician.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Ken Jeong.
Yeah, he's an actual medical doctor. And he was like, fuck this. I want to be a stand-up comedian. And he went all in on that. And he made it.
Yeah.
But, like, you have to let go of that one main thing.
Yeah.
If you're older to do this.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. You asked if I had kids, and I don't have kids. And, kids would be awesome down the road when I'm definitely mature enough for them. But, like, I saw your 3 beautiful kids, and they waved at me, and I was having a, good time through the door when I showed up. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, in the best way possible, I'm glad that I don't have this situation yet. Because I'd have to give up stand-up because I'm not going to be a shit dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be... As much as I think stand-up is important and it's beautiful and da-da-da, it does not come anywhere near close to what your children will bring to your life and fulfillment. But they are completely different categories. Like this podcast for me is a passion and a hobby. Where it goes, cool. But there is a career outside of this that supports and feeds and does all that for my family. So it's like this will for right now never take up my entire life. But the beauty of a podcast... The beauty of stand-up is it's almost always in the evenings.
Yeah.
I can do a full day, hang out with my wife and my kids, go to a Muay Thai class if I wanted to or whatever, and then just hang out, do a podcast because, like, those responsibilities that's the other beautiful thing about today versus yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have this. You can't be a famous comedian without being in movies or having a Netflix special or prior to Netflix having an HBO special. Now doesn't matter. You don't need to have that big special because you can have a ton of people following you, drop it on YouTube for free, and just sell out everywhere you go, which is the big new model. Yeah.
It's funny that you brought up movies, so I'm going to go on one of these tangents I was talking about. So
let's do it.
As of today, I actually got an audition appointment to go try out for this movie that I just randomly found on Facebook. They were looking for a dude. And the whole reason I brought it up is because the guy that they said they want, the archetype of the guy, they said they wanted the love child of Captain Jack Sparrow and Dave Chappelle's Rick James meets Nick Cage's and there was another black guy. Damn it. Robert Downey Jr.'s playing Kirk Lazarus of Tropic Thunder. All right. And those 2 babies had a baby, and that's supposed to be this character. And I just have zero clue.
Who came up with that?
This dude.
Who told you this?
The writer. This is his idea for
I don't care what the name of the movie is. I don't care what the name of this writer is. I hope you hear what I'm about to tell you. Motherfucker, if you can explain what that's supposed to be, then maybe he can too. There's no possibility of explaining that in a coherent way. These are, first of all, fictional characters. All of them men who had offspring, and then they had offspring. Fuck that. Fuck all of that. How about, do I fit whatever is in that twisted fucking head of yours?
Exactly.
I'm sorry, dude, but that's where, like, what does that mean?
Honestly, I
Who is
kind of
this
narrowed
guy?
it down. So like I said, okay, so just if you let me work with you for a second so I can figure this out. So you're kind of wanting our narcissistic, overly confident, kind of pompous dude who's a little bit
Pretending
of a
to be
lunatic. That's one thing. I don't know if I'm actually supposed to be going, I'm Rick James, bitch. Like,
'Cause, like-
am I supposed to cultural appropriate this whole thing?
The problem, and not the problem, but the beauty of I'm Rick James, what Chappelle does is such an over exaggeration of Rick James
Yes.
that it's fucking hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
It's genius. Like the over exaggeration part of it is just that's the pure genius of it.
It's the same thing with Robert Downey Jr.'s
Yes.
Tropic Thunder. That's
Yes.
such an over exaggeration.
Yeah, like nobody's really like that, are they? No.
No, at least not since Vietnam.
And none of us were around for that shit. No,
not a
even the
chance.
people around that were in Vietnam probably couldn't tell you what put whatever race you want here acted like.
Yeah.
And that would be a generalization of everybody. Like,
All they remember is that one bombshell that got thrown in their bunker, and that's it.
napalm all over the place, really bad weed, and dirty hookers. That's kind
Yeah.
of a lot of the
Cool, cool,
memory
cool.
of Vietnam, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of heartache and pain, and not to dismiss what our armed forces went through
Yeah,
and what they probably are still going through.
yeah, yeah.
Not fair, but the whole point of what we were talking about is like the memories of the funny shit that may have happened in Vietnam, not all
Exactly.
the pain. We all know
Yeah.
the pain is there.
Well, I mean, comedy in and of itself is tragedy plus time equals comedy. So, like,
Right.
that's what I always hate about too soon. Like, if I say something the day after it happened, like I did with an Allen Mall shooting joke, I tried that the day after it happened, and without the time, it's a lot. I get that now, but like, there was one time, like a couple months ago, I said a Kobe died joke. And it was like too soon. I was like, it's been 4 years.
It's not that, so okay. The too soon marker for Kobe was set in stone by one person and one person only, Ari Shaffir.
Fear. Yep.
His tweet set in stone what you do not do. That is the playbook of what we do not do. 4 years later, to make a Mamba joke or something, I've seen other comedians do it and murder. There's
Exactly.
been tons of people that... It's like the same people that give you shit about 9/11. It's like, I get it, but at some point, we have to start making light of this to actually
Exactly.
move on from this.
Yeah. That's the whole biggest thing is once you can change someone else's perspective on it, like that's when you know shit needs to like push on that, I guess. I mean, we would be nowhere where we're at with race. It's not equal, but it's getting better, at least from my perspective.
In what aspect?
More people are trying. It's not
comedy,
getting.
you mean?
No, I just mean like I was making an analogy towards like race.
Okay.
Race relations now.
Right.
It's not perfect. It's not good, but it's getting better because there are more people trying than there ever have been, I think.
I mean, I'll put it to you this way. For a lot of people that live on the coast, they think diversity exists only there. And they think the rest of this country is divided into literally white neighborhoods and black neighborhoods and nothing else. And then if you opened your eyes and traveled, and if you can't travel, hell, you can just open YouTube and type in stand-up comedy Oklahoma City, stand-up comedy somewhere, and see the crowd. And you'll be
Yes.
pleasantly surprised that everywhere you go in this country, everybody's fucking there, dude.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what,
I mean-
like, we moved here, we met people of our culture, other cultures. Diversity in Dallas is big.
Yeah.
Diversity in most of Texas exists. Like, yeah, I can find pockets where the black-white may exist, but that's like the boonies or something, or like farm country.
Yeah.
Fine, that's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah. That's where I was getting at with like without being able to talk about all of this, like beforehand when that was just we don't talk about it because it just we stay away from it to stay away from it basically. And that just like never was going to work. No one talked about it, so no one could work any of this shit out. And it's the same thing with these new catastrophes that happen. Like the amount of times I've heard a joke that based around, oh, let's pick out a school shooter and then basing it like, okay, that's the kid that got picked on and was nerdy. And like, if you just gave him a friend, or the joke I've been hearing a lot recently is if you just gave him a prostitute, like that wouldn't happen. But like, the joke of that, or the real life story behind that isn't fucking, those kids are just lonely. Maybe you should just fuck them. No, it's like just be fucking nice to the kid. But I made a joke about him getting some pussy finally.
It's funny.
Yeah.
But it explains the underlying issue of like just acceptance and validation for your existence.
Yeah, man.
I think, and again, over exaggeration, because there's been so many of these damn shootings that you can't really. I know mental health, it has to be some sort of a prevailing issue because why else would this keep happening over and over again?
And just an uptick in recent years. So something.
Yeah.
Who would think it's your phone? I almost guarantee it. Because school shooters weren't a thing before 2004 and Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. And all of this shit just fucking stormed out of nowhere.
I mean, we had school shootings prior to that, but they were very seldom, I think.
Yeah.
There's a chart of, and I've looked up, the number just goes, and you're right. The internet boosted, and then social media completely through the roof. And it's because the infamy.
Yeah.
Of they're gonna talk about you, the one person that nobody ever gave a shit about. Now the whole world will give a shit about for a few days.
Yeah.
And maybe if we stop talking about it, that would help something. But I feel like it may just, if we stop talking about the random school shooters, now you're gonna have someone bombing a school.
Yeah.
Upping the game so they can get the notoriety.
Exactly. It's like it's a Band-Aid until someone figures out how to rip that Band-Aid off and make it worse.
Yeah, and the other thing is taking away guns and all this other bullshit. That's not a fix either. That's another Band-Aid.
Yeah, I mean, being as a guy that owns a lot of guns because I'm raised in Texas and I like to hunt and shit like that.
Same here.
I get both sides of the coin. Like Jim Jeffries said it best. You're like, well, Australia doesn't have any guns and we don't have any shootings. I'm like, well, okay, that's a good fucking point. Like, not only is that funny, but he made a fact out of it. Then again, the whole right to bear arms and shit like that, that's also when people wrote with feathers. Shit's changed, and no one really needs an AR-15 or something like that. You can have one, but don't fuck around with it.
Sure. But my argument to that is most school shootings don't use an AR.
Yeah. Yeah,
they don't. It's mostly pistols, sometimes shotguns.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
There's a reason ARs are not used all the time in school shooting. They're first of all, they're heavy.
Yeah.
They're hard to shoot properly. And they're big, dude. Like, you're not really concealed carrying an AR.
Yeah.
Some crazy nut might, but, like, you're not really doing that. And the whole point of being a school shooter is you're trying to get in there and kill people. So if the gun is seen before you have a chance to even take it out.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of... Again, I'm not trying to give anybody tips on how to do this. Please stop. Fuck anything. Even message me on Instagram. I'll be happy to talk to you, dude. Swear to God, I'll talk to anybody that's having a thought like that just to steer you away from it. It's just not worth it. Putting it out there.
Yeah.
But it's not solving the issue. The issue in and of itself is, why are these kids doing it?
Yeah.
How do we fix it? Take the gun away. They'll find something else. Something else horrifying will happen. Mom and dad's car is easy to steal. Mm-hmm. You can mow down an entire football team on a field that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
If someone is wanting to do that for getting the notoriety or the infamy that comes with it, they'll find a way to do it.
Yep.
Is all I'm saying.
It's the same argument with drugs. Oh, war on drugs. Oh, that's fine. I mean, ever since the war on drugs, the uptick in drug deaths, I guess you would say, has just been astronomical. I mean, you look at before the war on drugs, and it was just like, I mean, my grandma, I listened to stories from her. She was a hippie. She tells me about how her brain is fried from so many acid tabs and how she barely remembers meeting Willie Nelson. That's a huge story to not remember because you took too many drugs, Mimi, but all right.
You think it's the too many drugs or just the fact that when you get old, you just lose memories? Like, my grandparents never did any drugs at all, never even drank alcohol.
Yeah.
To excess. Like, New Year's, Christmas, birthdays, kind of like that. They forgot shit too when they got older. Like, it's normal.
That's true. I think the biggest thing with her is it started early.
Yeah.
So, like, you could tell something was up, like, 50s, like late or early 50s for her.
I think the main issue why was it even a war on drugs? What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
You could have legalized it. You could have monitored it. You could have made sure the supply was a clean supply.
You could have educated over it.
And then probably within a generation to 2 generations, the spike would have settled, and the people that were still going to do drugs are going to do drugs, and the people that weren't just weren't.
Honestly, it could have been like a scared straight situation. So I was arrested twice in my life, but the first time was related to me. I was a booze bag. I would drink. I'd probably black out 5 nights a week in college.
Damn, dude, but you're
That's
22,
why I cheated,
man.
Yeah, but I have history of alcoholism in my family, and I saw it and drank anyways. And then once I got arrested, I had that moment of like, all right, now you've seen it and suffered from it, so you need to fix this shit.
Who in the family, or which side of the family was the alcoholism, or both sides?
My dad, and then I believe his dad too.
Still your dad?
No. He was recovered, and I think he's been sober 27, 28 years. So even before me. Yeah.
Good man.
And, it sounds weird for me to say, and almost alcoholistic in a way, and I see that and I know that. But, yeah, after I got arrested, I took a year off from drinking to show myself that I don't have to drink. And then from there, I kind of started supplementing drinks back into my life because I don't want to be, oh, no, I don't drink at all.
I get you.
I just wanted to teach myself how to control it. So I kind of started implementing drinks, and now I went from blackout drunk 5 nights a week to now I have a drink 5 times in a month.
Well, that's smart.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, if you're there and you can find your happy medium, then be happy with it. You know, it's not always full-blown alcoholism.
Yeah, a lot of mine was with mental health problems. I was struggling a lot in college. There was so much stress because I was away from home, and I purposefully kind of put myself at a college where I didn't know anyone going in.
Where'd you go?
I went to Terleton State over in Stephenville.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's Texas again?
Yeah, still
Okay.
Texas. Just out in the fucking boonies, just in the middle of nowhere. It's a rodeo college, literally.
Wow.
So it's just full of cowboys. Like you'll see boots and spurs and cowboy hats unironically every single day, and it's like 40% of the college population.
Yeah, but those guys are like crazy, dude.
Oh, dude.
They're like strong,
yes.
don't give a fuck. Like these are dudes that want to ride bulls for a living.
Exactly. And they're the people that taught me that way more people do coke than what you think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, LA, you're desensitized to that. Who cares? It's always there. Choose to do it if you want to.
Yeah.
Most of us just don't.
See, I got lucky, and with the same thing I saw with like the alcoholism, I'm like, oh, if I try coke, I'll love it. So I've never tried it.
I never understood the whole. I get the addiction aspect of cocaine.
Yeah.
The fun just doesn't exist.
Yeah, it seems like a lot. I've heard a lot of stories that
it's not fun.
If you're not going to bars anymore, I like to stick at home, and then if I can, I'll be in bed by midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna do drugs, honestly, there's so much more fun to be had with other things. Pot is a better alternative than coke.
And if you've never smoked pot is a hallucinogenic your first couple times. It's awesome.
It fucks you up, yeah.
Yeah. Your first couple times, and if you have dickhead friends.
Yeah, have a good buddy. I would always recommend that. And try to not do it until you're 25, but nobody
Yeah, it definitely does stunt your mental growth. That's 100% sure. But, my thing with weed was when I tried that, the worst it ever did was make me eat everything in my fridge and then lay on my couch for 4 hours and watch 2 Tarantino movies. That was the worst thing. But when I'm on booze, I tried to fight bouncers. I tried to fight anyone, really.
So you're just not a happy drunk. You're a fighting drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the worst kind, man.
Yeah, that was another thing. Is like I grew up with the chip on my shoulder because like middle school, high school, especially, even elementary school, I didn't have a whole lot of friends. I was really a loner. I played sports and shit like that, so I had like teammates. But after you left school and you left practice, I just kind of was alone a lot. So I grew up with that and that whole aspect of, because I was a loner, I didn't know how to interact with people. So I just became socially anxious, I think is the right terminology. And then,
it's like social anxiety?
Yeah, I got a lot of social anxiety. That's what I was trying to say. But from there, like, that's what started my drinking was, all right, I'm going to drink some liquid courage and then just be able to talk to people. And then on top of that is like, I didn't know what it was that kept me drinking, but something about it, as soon as I finished a beer, I opened another one and I just kept going again. There was that whole, like, if I had one in my hand, I was drinking it and it was going to be done, and then I'll grab another one.
So it was like an all or nothing thing.
Yeah. So that's the best way to put it, because I could go in college. I tried a couple times. I did a couple times. They're like, I'm going to take like 4 days off. And it wasn't a problem. I just dealt with it. But then as soon as I drank one beer, the next time, I just fucking end up the next morning having drank 20 beers and blacked out.
So what got you arrested?
So I went to my friend's 21st birthday party in College Station. And at this point, I was at the tail end of my drinking era. And I was already at the point of like, all right, here pretty soon, especially after this birthday party, because I want to drink with them. But when I get back, I need to slow down on my drinking because it's becoming a problem. It started hindering on friendships and my schoolwork especially and shit like that. And I went down to this party and I didn't know anyone but who the birthday was for.
Okay.
So that social anxiety kicked in. I was like, all right, I don't know what to do. Emily remembers the life of the party, Paxton, and that Paxton is a drunk. So let's get to where we're going. And then okay. I got pretty drunk, but not wasted. Pre-gaming, went to the bar, and in College Station, I'm not going to say the bar so I don't get in trouble, but they didn't ID me.
Okay.
And in like 30 to 45 minutes, I drank 6 tequila double sodas.
Yeah, you were gone.
Yeah, I was fucked up. And then at some point, we ended up at one final bar, and the bouncer was kicking us out, and I think it was because of something I did. I don't remember from being told the story, because at this point, I was blacked out. And angry drunk me tried to fight the bouncer. And it got to a point where none of us like threw punches or anything like that, but I was definitely in his face, and like I think we were pushing each other from what people said, and then I woke up in jail. I have no idea.
Okay, so you got arrested at the bar.
Yeah, I got arrested at the bar, locked up in the drunk tank of Bryan, Texas. And yeah, man, there's something really about like I literally woke up with my head in my hands just because they make you sit in those hard plastic chairs and shit like that.
Right.
And then
no bed?
No bed. I wasn't in a cell. It was a cell that was actually just one huge room because it was a huge drunk take for all of the A&M
Oh, so it was like the holding tank, but for drunk people.
Yeah.
Okay, I know where you were. Okay.
Yeah. And at that point, I just woke up and I was probably like, I felt like a 6-year-old how scared I was. Because I was just looking around and seeing all these people I don't know. And I woke up and I was wearing this stupid, dumb fucking flamingo shirt while sitting with my head in my hands in a fucking holding tank in not my hometown. And I had to ask the cop, like, hey, what happened? And he had to give me everything. And he's trying not to laugh because he's just watching me like, I did all of that shit. And then on top of all of that, I thought it was a dream, I guess. But having now known the whole situation, as I was getting arrested, also what made me realize I'm not supposed to be a cop, from the back seat, I said, fuck you, Piggy. It smells like bacon in this bitch.
Oh, shit. So the same cop that was explaining it to you?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Hopefully he had a sense of humor.
He didn't have a sense of humor, but I think he could tell that like the first version of me and the second version of me were two different people. Cause I'm a very humble person. I walked with my fucking tail between my legs and my hat in my hands. I'm like, hey man, I'm so sorry for any trouble I gave you. I don't like that side of me. And literally before I did all of this, I was saying I need to cool it. And he's like, yeah, you need to cool it. And I was like, well, now I kind of have to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was also a very like important time in my life because that was the first time I had to go get friends outside of the dude I lived with and my drinking buddies. I had to go like actively find friends.
Right.
And it was really tough because like the friends I did have, like I was saying, growing up in high school, I had a couple people that basically just like lived in my neighborhood.
Okay.
But they didn't treat me very well. And I was too much of kind of a pushover to understand that at the time. So I just kind of let myself be the punching bag.
Okay.
And that's kind of where the chip came into it. So I also like was very eager to stop a relationship. So like one flag, and I'll be like, nope, fuck that guy, never again. I don't want to talk to him because I feel like he's, dissing me or something just because of that past.
You thought it was going to go back to the same thing of being berated and all that stuff.
So I became an asshole. I really did. I became a hateful person. And I really didn't like it, but I definitely knew I liked it more than doormat me.
Right.
So right after stopping drinking was when I first started finding myself. And that's kind of where I'd always loved stand-up at this point. I'd always watched it because I had no one to hang out with. So everything to me was movies, stand-up, and music because you didn't have to have anyone to do it.
Right.
I just sat in my room in the dark and just fucking engorged everything I fucking could about these three, like, realms. And as soon as I stopped drinking, I'm like, all right, this is my goal. I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to stop a hindrance on needing it. And then eventually, long-ish term, I'm going to do stand-up.
So what's that timeline look like? When did you get arrested? How old were you?
It was actually the leap day of 2020. So February 29th of 2020.
Oh, damn. You quit drinking in the worst possible time. Pandemic and
I started
everything.
smoking very soon after.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that'll help.
And that's actually also where I found my new friends. Right after this, another big thing I was drinking was I had insomnia for a long time.
Okay.
Pretty bad insomnia where like at least one night a week I didn't go to bed at all. I just stayed up all night because my head wouldn't stop.
Did you ever figure out the cause?
It definitely had to be mental health problems because now I don't have it and I also do therapy. So it's not a coincidence there.
So what was the stem of your mental health? Was it just the anxiety stuff or was it other things too?
Anxiety.
Obviously the alcoholism or proclivity too.
Yeah, it was a lot of that. And then also early on, specifically in my childhood, it was kind of rough. So
up to you if you'd like to go into it.
I'll go into it a little bit because I don't want to delve onto them. But
it's a reoccurring theme. Almost all of the people that I've had the opportunity to sit down and speak with have had varying degrees of shitty childhoods.
Yeah.
It's a theme and yeah, let's just leave it at that. It's a theme.
Yeah. So
I wish it wasn't, but it is.
Yeah, but I also wouldn't go back in time and take it away. Because just now, for the first time in my life at 22, I like who I am. So
I think the ones that persevere through all that stuff are the ones that would never change it because they fully understand that if these set of things did not happen exactly like this, I would never be who I am.
Exactly.
And I know exactly what you're talking about to a varying degree in my own past, and I'm sure a lot of people can... I think everybody can be like, yeah, I remember there was this really, really shitty thing that happened. Maybe not childhood, maybe in adulthood, whatever it is, but like it changes and shapes you in a way, and you're like, I would never change that horrifying day for anything in the world because it helped me get here.
Yep. Yeah. My situation is just like most people's, really. Like, I was born into a marriage that wasn't supposed to work. And my parents are both very dead set on like not believing in divorce, not for religious reasons or anything like that, but they just don't do it.
They want to stick it out.
Yeah, they want to stick it out. They want to figure it out.
Did they come from divorced families?
Both of them. Yeah, actually. Now, I never made that connection, but yeah. My dad's dad was divorced and married 9 times before he died, and then
Wow.
My mom's mom got divorced 3 times.
So I think what your parents were probably in somewhere in their head going like, someone has to break the cycle.
Yep.
We're breaking the cycle. I don't care how hard it gets. We're breaking it.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at now. Is I'm just now old enough to see that and be able to like, okay, that was I kind of put a lot of shit on them, but now I could see like what they were dealing with. But my parents fought a lot, at fucking every single day, like to the point where I can't think of maybe more than 4 times my friends ever came to my house.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 5. But I'd always go out to my friends. And I don't know if my friends ever knew that. Granted, none of them ever asked, but I never, you don't bring up your family stuff with your friends most of the time.
Not especially when you're kids and shit, because
yeah.
You don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, and you also don't know to do that because you don't know that that'd be reaching out to someone who might be going through the same thing.
More than likely.
Yeah.
Depending on the neighborhood you grew up in, like if you're in some affluent neighborhood, different set of problems occur. But if we're all in the shitty circumstance, there's a good chance a bunch of us have the same shitty circumstance.
Yeah, that was actually part of it because
one of my favorite bits. Sorry to cut you off.
No,
from,
good.
Theo Vaughn.
Yeah,
he talks about like
living right next to the black guys in the trailer
exactly,
park.
and he's like, "You think I took all your shit and just don't have it?" Like, it's hilarious. And the funny for me is not that. The funny thing is like, are we gonna split these plums or not? That is the most hilarious fucking thing, and only Theo Vaughn could like deliver it. It's just his voice and his way of saying it. Sorry to cut you off, but like it just made me think of that.
Yeah, no, I fucking love that bit. I quote that bit when it gets to a stressful situation where someone's like, "Ah, man, you don't think like that." I'm like, dude, I grew up with y'all.
Yeah.
I was born and raised in Arlington, and then I grew up with the poor kids because my rich kid friends from my neighborhood were shitty. It was like Roanoke is attached to basically another town called Trophy Club.
Okay.
And Trophy Club is a golf community, cocaine, chubby wearing, fucking flip-flops, and just douches.
So the ones that didn't go to Florida came there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And
nothing against Florida, by the way. Just the retiree community, a little bit douchey sometimes.
Exactly.
Tad bit.
And he's not shitting on y'all, but I am. Fuck Florida.
I said nothing.
Yeah.
I provided a platform.
Segura's got a bit about closing off and walling off the state of Louisiana. I want to wall off the state of Florida.
His replacement for the R word with Cajun.
I call people Cajun to this.
My God.
He's my number one. He's the dude that got me into stand-up.
I was going to ask you that. So because you said you kind of, engulfed yourself into stand-up music and movies, who were the inspirations in stand-up?
So,
and why didn't you go down the path of being a musician or head first into film?
I just actually realized this. So I always did want to do something musically inclined, but I didn't have a good singing voice. And I had asked my parents in middle school,
you
how
don't need
1 year in
voice
middle
anymore. They got autotune.
Exactly.
You just need the face.
Fucking someone set me up with T-Pain.
Poor T-Pain, dude. He gets so much shit for that.
He gets so much shit, and his voice is beautiful.
He did it the least. He would do auto-tune just to kind of get those weird highs and things like that.
Yeah.
He actually did rap a lot and sing a lot as he was. Not like the people that you know for sure, completely auto-tune.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you? You're making millions. Congratulations. Nothing against you. It's just I don't know. Music was different when I was growing up.
Yeah, music was composed.
Look, we grew up, I'm in my late 30s, so I grew up in LA during the rap revolution, where we got the Dr. Dre's, the Biggies, the Tupacs, the Eazy's, NWA was a thing for us.
That West Coast sound is
that wasn't auto-tune anything. That was writing lyrics and putting it to the beat, and it was just raw and amazing, and it still exists now. Certain rappers still have that. Certain rock musicians still have that. But
yeah.
I feel like that shift sucks.
Yeah, it really does. That's I still listen to Wu-Tang and Biggie and Tupac and NWA and all those old rock bands, stuff like that, because they were still saying something.
Yeah, dude, if you go back and listen to Korn, System of a Down, Limp Bizkit, I'm talking about that time.
Yes.
I'm not going further back, but I'm talking about they were kind of adjacent to the rap guys.
Yeah.
They all had their shitty backstories. Kid Rock, dude, talked about a bunch of the shittiness of growing up poor in the South or in Texas or in Detroit because he talked about all these different places because he was like, dude, everybody's like me. We all had shit.
Yeah.
And we respected that. But I feel like a bunch of it now is bullshit.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Sorry, man, but I feel like a ton of it is bullshit.
Not every rapper can be gangbanging and selling drugs. And I'm saying that with a friend who's a rapper and he has a couple songs about selling drugs, and I know for a fucking fact if he sold any drugs, it was Adderall.
The best was Jay-Z on Letterman very recently. Letterman asked him about the whole culture, and he's like, they lied, dude. Most of them lied. He's like, even in our time, most of them were bullshitting. Not all of them were standing on a street corner with a bag of crack.
Yeah. Almost
none of them were. And that's him saying it. So you know what? I respect what he has to say because that's his generation. They did all this stuff, and he's in the culture.
And, comedians, we do the same thing. I don't know if that one night you were there. I have a bit where I talk about this one time I got dunked on by Des Bryant, the Dallas Cowboy, old wide receiver. He played like.
I don't know if you did that line that night. Did you?
I don't know. It's a pretty long story, so I usually don't try and do it at Hyenas since it's just 5 minutes.
By the way, shout out to Hyenas Dallas, dude.
I
One of my
love 'em.
favorite clubs.
And I just started working door there last Thursday.
Hey, there you
Yeah,
go. You
so-
can go and you can see Pax at the door.
Exactly. Follow my good omens, man. But yeah, like one of the best lines in it isn't like necessarily the punchline, but it's one of my favorite tags. It's me talking about how Des Bryant, when he dunked on me, he put his dick in my mouth. Obviously, that's a metaphor because his dick was at face height. His dick did not go literally in my mouth. I lied. But you got to hyperbolize when you're doing jokes and singing songs and shit like that.
No, it's hilarious. And when you say that, I think of, and I forget the comedian that did it. It probably was Kevin Hart talking about Shaq becoming a cop.
Oh.
And when he comes, like if he pulls you over and he comes to, and he literally took the mic and dropped it like a dick on the like going inside of the
That
car
sounds
window.
real Kevin Hart, yeah.
And I was just like, that's fucking because you get the mental projection of Shaq. I'm Shaq, like the way he talks.
License and registration,
And just like this, and it's a black microphone. He just like flings it down. You're like, I believe it. That works. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Completely different jokes and different scenarios. So like nobody's stealing from anybody.
Yeah.
Obviously, but like the funny is there.
Yeah, you got to hyperbolize in that situation. And
Yeah,
it's the same thing with a lot of rap music. Because otherwise, you can't all talking about, like, a lot of people do, but, like, every song can't be about, my mom was on welfare. My dad hit my mom. I don't know my dad. Da-da-da-da-da. You got to fucking create some new shit.
Look, I don't know if every single country musician that's ever talked about the rodeo has actually been on a bull.
Most of them are fat. If you see country music artists, a lot of them are fat as shit.
I want to believe some of them have.
Yeah.
But I also want to believe that some of them have the ability of painting that picture with lyrics to the point where you believe it. Yeah. That to me is equally as important.
Yeah.
If I believe what you're saying because the validity of what you're doing and the how much you believe it, it's equally as real for me as you actually falling off that goddamn bull and writing the song 2 days later.
Exactly. Like when you're someone, whether it's a musician or comedy or whatever, you're not just like that, but you're also a storyteller. Whether you're singing out your story or you're talking about your story, a bad story isn't going to go anywhere. So like, not only a bad story isn't going to go anywhere, but when you're telling a story, you can actively tell if someone's lying, usually.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like
it's so apparent.
Yeah.
Because the best that do stand up don't lie. They hyperbolize.
Yeah.
They will exaggerate the truth.
Comedians are fishermen.
As they should. Like, okay. And I talked about this yesterday with Nathan, and it came up again because you talked about Tom.
Yeah.
Tom Segura has this bit about walking in a park in Philadelphia.
And seeing a black guy jump out of the bushes.
He's like, he appeared out of the bushes as if he lived there. Yeah. Now.
I don't know if he lived in the bushes, but he came out of the bushes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, the funny is, you can imagine this beautiful sunny day in Philadelphia, and you can imagine Tom just walking down, strolling, and the entire thing happening. Did the guy pop out of the bushes? Maybe. Was he standing next to a bush? Who cares? It's funnier that way.
He could have been walking with Tom. It doesn't fucking matter. Like
the funny is there because it's authentic, because the person actually experienced the event. Now, where artistic freedom comes into it is when you started laughing. That's the whole point.
Yep.
Because if he told you just walked through a park and some black guy was called the N-word by some white guy and another black guy came and a fight happened, nothing fucking funny is what I just said.
No.
What he says, you cry, laugh.
Yeah. Yeah. There's got to be.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, you got to paint a picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Segura's an inspiration for you.
Yeah. Segura's my number one because he sounded like me. That's kind of like I had his cadence already. Another big one was Louis. I
love Louis C.K.
Oh, dude, he's one of my favorites. I've had, his album Hilarious I've had on my phone, and I listen to that constantly, like since freshman year of high school, I think.
Dude, I had a watch party for his live at Madison Square Garden.
I did too.
I bought it, and I was still at Castle Hills, and that house actually had a movie theater in
it.
it. So like,
ass.
My friend and his wife came over, and my wife and I, it was just a small watch party, but the four of us were just laying down, watching.
Laughing.
Oh my God, dude. He went deep on I think it was like a Jesus bit, and like
Oh yeah.
he went dark and fucking deep, and I was crying laughing because only he can do it.
Exactly.
Only he can do it.
And since you know Louis, have you watched the show Louis?
I haven't.
Okay.
I've heard about it, but I haven't. I don't watch that much TV, like
Okay,
TV
yeah,
shows
fair enough.
and stuff. I watch documentaries, podcasts. Like I actually watch podcasts. I love watching
I do too.
podcasts. That's kind of me, like documentaries, podcasts, things like that. I'm bored of TV, dude. I'm sorry. It's just, it's all the same repetitive bullshit. And then when they don't do a good show, they put in a love interest at season 4, and they completely lose me there.
Yeah.
Like not every goddamn show needs to have a love interest in it.
Yeah.
Although, like The Last of Us, I couldn't watch that either.
I didn't even try.
Oh my God. Like after the 3rd episode, it was so heart-wrenching. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like every time you get me invested with someone and you kill them.
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah.
Like, Game of Thrones did that shit for like 3 seasons straight. And I was like, I can't do this anymore, man.
I watched Game of Thrones so late too.
I love Game of Thrones.
I knew everything that happened just because I had, everyone spoiled it. And at a certain point, you're like, all right, we're not spoiling it around you anymore. It's been 2 years since the finale or whatever.
Yeah, you got into it way late.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were like, I watched season 6 2 weeks after it came out versus like the day.
No. I didn't have HBO up until like that point. And
there's only 3 apps that my Apple TV gets use out of me. HBO is one of them because I love Bill Maher. So I watch Bill Maher like every week he's on. That's the only thing I'll watch. Seriously, there's nothing else on HBO for me. And then it's Netflix and YouTube.
Yeah.
That's
YouTube
that's
has
what I
been a
use.
real up and that's another thing is we were talking about earlier, stand up having this huge blow up is not only like COVID, but YouTube and comedians putting their specials on YouTube has been just the fucking saving grace for anyone wanting to do comedy recently.
I think there's a lot of comedians that might have a problem with what I'm about to say, but COVID was the saving grace of comedians.
Oh, yeah.
They don't want to realize it, but the shift into what Schultz did with, turn the phone to the side stuff, what others did with like TikTok shorts to kind of get the buzz going about a comedian,
Mark Norman.
Podcasting. Yeah, Mark Norman's one of those guys. Sam Morril is one of those guys.
Love them. And their podcast, We Might Be Drunk, is fucking great.
Fucking what? Shane Gillis.
Gillis is a killer.
Gillian Keeves is one of my favorite thing in the world.
Yes.
It is so fucking funny, dude. I will never ruin it by trying to act any of it out. It's just so damn good.
And
like
Gillian
his
Keeves
Trump is so exaggerated that you believe it's Trump. It's so good.
Everyone has a Trump impression, but I only want to hear his. Because it's become so played out that, like, you hear a Trump impression, at maybe at least once or one mic a week. And, like, that's a lot, especially coming from some dude who's not doing a good Trump bit or whatever. Gillis's impersonation of him and the way he takes the stories on him is exactly what he needs.
Dude, his bit about Trump getting or an attempt assassination and him acting out like the sounds and come on. That's not an impression. That's completely different. That's the story. That's the fun of being a comedian.
Exactly.
That's the awesome.
That, and we kind of needed his perspective because there were so many comedians that were afraid to like have somewhat of a right-leaning view for a long time. I'm not saying I lean one way or the other. I'm right down the fucking middle. I don't give a shit and leave me the fuck alone.
Most comedians are.
Exactly.
I feel like there's a few that are conservative. There's a ton that are ultra woke. They'll fizzle out. They always do.
But
who's in the Mount Rushmore that's been ultra conservative or ultra liberal? None of them.
No, yeah. But like, Shane Gillis's bit about driving makes me racist.
Remind me of this one. I should.
He said, I'm not racist, but when I'm driving, but driving makes me racist. Like something. If I was hungry, that's what it is. That's what it is. Racism while driving is like being hungry. Like I'm not right now, but then that cheeseburger is gonna cut me off, and then I'm gonna you fucking cheeseburger, and then he's got a little tag at the end. Like for anyone wondering. Cheeseburgers with Jews. Like it was like back when Jews wasn't the hot topic. It was like the fucking Jews, that's what he goes to? All right. I love just random bullshit like that. I love silly shit.
Speaking of hot topics, and this one goes out, like, I hope some people hear this. I don't care what level of comedian you are. Stop doing COVID shit in Dallas, dude. We don't care.
Yeah.
Stop doing vaccine shit in Dallas. We don't care. It's not relevant.
No. Honestly, that's another thing is like topical shit like that. Like I was doing a Karl Malone bit because of the dunk contest.
Yeah.
For way too long. I think I did it for 2 months. And like I was doing a joke about the February dunk contest in April. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I got to stop doing this. No matter how much I loved the joke, but you got to know when to cut off a topical joke. It can come back anytime Karl Malone comes back into the news cycle. You best bet I'm gonna fucking bring it up.
Yeah, sure.
But
It's got to be relevant.
yeah, it's until it's not relevant or until it's relevant again. It's got to stay dead.
And here's the other thing. COVID, the vaccine, unlike 9/11 or Kobe's death or one of those things, I feel like it's one of those that it will never be made fun of and be actually funny.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just like a tragic event that happened. It was just like the stupidity that manifested for years.
Yeah.
And we just kind of went along with it.
Yeah, we're kind of sheep.
So there's like a ton of self-loathing and hate going on internally from everyone.
Yeah.
Vaccinators, anti-vaxxers, mask, no mask. Because sooner or later, all of us, deep down in the back of our mind, going like, you were a fucking asshole for 2 years, dude. Almost everybody was.
Yep. It was rough.
And then, like, all of us want to forget that, right? Like, nobody wants to revisit that shit of, like, all of us had that time where we just lost it.
Yeah.
Because it was sucked.
Yeah. That was rough. I remember I was still working through all that. Like, I had 2 different jobs in COVID era, and both of them were essential workers. So I worked at a restaurant and then at a car wash.
Okay.
And that was kind of the saving
Car
grace for
washes
me.
are essential?
Yeah, something to do with cleaning. Something about cleanliness and, like, housekeepers were still essential.
That I can understand, but, like...
But a car, to an extent, like, don't touch the outside of your car, dum-dum. Like, other than that, I just took it. Like, it was still the time I got to work, and I wouldn't have been able to get the monthly, like, COVID checks and shit people were getting. And, like, it kind of gave me a saving grace because I got to go out every day still and go out into the world and then also get to talk to some people. So that was pretty cool. But back then, you also realized that, like you were saying, everyone was a fucking asshole. Like, any sort of reason for anyone to get mad, they would. And, for example, I had the ultimate ultra mega Karen come in while I was still working at the restaurant. And it was just one of those, hey, I've got to ask you, I don't give a shit, but will you pull your mask up? I understand, like, you're making a symbol right now. You're making your protest. But, you know, I'll get in trouble if you don't. And she called me a cunt.
You're the cunt?
Yeah, I was like, are you kidding? I was like, damn, dude, here's your fucking lasagna then, you fucking fat cow.
That's the other thing, like, why couldn't we just be more compassionate with one another? Just a tiny bit more, dude. Like, oh, poor kid, job, all right, fuck it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Fucking walk back out and take it off. I don't care. I'll probably laugh. Fucking comedians are rooted to see that, and you're like, all right, that was rude, but it was also kind of funny. But, like, if you're just an asshole to be an asshole, ooh, I'm going to show you I'm a bigger asshole here. I'm talking about it on a podcast. This bitch hasn't thought about it a day since.
I'm sure, yeah. She probably couldn't care less.
No, I've been brooding in it for years.
She may have sent a text going like, I told that asshole he was a cunt.
I hope so. I hope her and her salty leather football-looking husband are just sitting there to this day in their matching chairs. They're the good chairs and just fucking dying off slowly.
What's funny is, though, people like that are so fucking ignorant to the reality of what is the world.
Yeah.
They have a great life. Misery just flies completely over their fucking 14 IQ.
Yep. Yeah.
They haven't the slightest clue.
Just a whole bunch of light pole lickers. That was one thing about being from a... I didn't think that was going to go.
Oh, man. But yeah, like, why we were talking about all this, because, like, it's not relevant anymore.
Yeah.
That was kind of like the whole point of all of this, is like, just stop doing that shit. Please come up with better material, because you got a couple of minutes on that stage and make an impact or lose a crowd. But also remember that you got people following you most of the time. So you're trying to do good so the others coming up keep living, like hyping up and hyping up until the headliner comes up, so all of us are really happy to see whoever it is.
Yeah, the whole, and I kind of think it's starting to dwindle away, but where people are afraid to follow people.
Oh, is that still a thing?
Kinda, like, but
Like, are you afraid to follow the better comedians, or are you afraid to follow the ones that suck?
now, because I've been doing it a lot, I'm afraid to follow the comedians that suck to an extent, but I also, without sounding like a douche, know a lot of my shit works because I'm a monotonous twat about how I do stand up. I probably do 4 nights a week, at least 2 in a night. So
you're working.
I'm moving, and it was at least 5 nights a week when I wasn't working door.
Well, I was surprised when you said you have 10 minutes all ready to go, and 8 months into it.
Yeah, I've got
And
probably
you
20.
felt solid about it.
Yeah.
Like you're like, I got a good 10 minutes.
Yeah,
That's cool. Like, a lot of people can take a long time to get there.
honestly, and any comedian that might be watching, do not be afraid to talk to yourself. It's like the number one tool I feel like comedians should use.
Okay, self-talk.
Yeah, like every bit that I have, well, not every, but probably like 90% of my bits, I start because I'm talking to myself in the shower.
So is that your process? How do you go from spark to on stage doing a bit?
So it goes through a couple levels. So like I was saying, it starts in the shower, or maybe like me zoned out while driving on a longer drive for work or something. Mm-hmm. If I'm in the car, my music's blaring, and then I'm just zoned out. Like my radio's all the way up, and I don't hear it at all. I'm just lost in my own thought, kind of highway hypnosis, kind of.
I know, yeah, okay.
Or I'm in the shower and I'm just talking to myself, working bits out. And if I have something that I think, like, if it catches my eye, then I know I have something. Because if I say something and then I think back on it and then I laugh, I think I suck. And that's kind of a thing that all comedians need to have, is like, you got to know you're good, but you got to constantly think you're dog shit. Because otherwise, if you do something one time and you think you're the shit, no one's going to book you.
Yeah, I think a prevailing theme with all artists is imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I'm no artist, but like doing this,
Yeah.
same thing. I'm like, come on.
And you put yourself in the world to where you can see it. Like, you don't have to be a comedian to see what we go through as comedians going on the stage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like,
I'm not there 4 nights a week, but I'm at least there once or twice a week.
yeah, I've at least seen you twice now because of Hyenas Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do that. I usually do the Thursday nights, the 3 for 25, because those are some solid guys that come out, or gals. But like 25 minutes, and you got to be an absolute killer.
Yes. Okay, so speaking of that, I wanted to take my first opportunity to shout him out whenever I could. So my first weekend, this past weekend, working door at Hyenas, I got to see a local dude, both shows, because the door guy, or one of them, gets to go inside and just be like security for the show.
Okay.
And Scott Crisp. Scott Crisp is
He's
fucking
hilarious,
killer.
bro.
Oh my god, he featured for DePaulo, and first thing, Nick killed it. But Scott Crisp, he did a bit about his beta fish.
Okay.
When he was a kid, and that one was great. I don't remember it, but his fucking Forrest Gump joke. Oh man, he's got like a 7-minute bit on how hilariously sad Forrest Gump is, and it is fantastic.
It is. So to that, I have been in touch with Scott. And he and I have been trying to figure out a schedule that works. He's really busy.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, Scott, you're being shouted out, dude. You have to do this podcast at this point.
I wrote your name in the sand, buddy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you are a murderer. I contacted you because I saw you murder.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, he's one of those up and comers, and that's why I like those 3 for 25 kind of gigs, because like when you're doing an open mic, you get a few minutes, 5 if you're lucky, rare, but it's usually 1 to 3 minutes depending on how many people have signed up. But when you're doing a 3 for 25, it's got to be tight. You have to be solid. Like a 7-minute Forrest Gump joke, it has to have enough stuff in that 7 minutes to keep you laughing and laughing and laughing.
Yeah, that
you know
is
what I mean?
another
Like
thing.
it's hard.
Like you got to at least have tags. And Scott has nailed it. It's not overdone, because sometimes you can overdo a joke, or like overdo a topic. I mean, and if it was like a 12-minute bit on Forrest Gump, I'm not saying he couldn't do that, but it'd get probably old. I think if he just stretched it, it's perfect the way it is, and you got to know when to like cut it off, and he did it, and that shit was. He's got a fucking. I'm not gonna say it. It's not my place to say his joke out loud. But
when I have the chance to sit down with him, I'm genuinely curious how big Forrest Gump started, and how long it took for him to. Because I think that's the other thing. When you work on a Wednesday, Thursday, and like continue like you're doing, you grasp at some point the word economy, and then you just start like, how many fewer words gets this point across? I'm curious about that.
And once you get to that really tight, like if you take a 3-minute joke and turn it into 90 seconds and it's real tight and it works, that's when you start making it and building it back. And it could be, I've got one of those now. The story about me getting arrested.
Yeah.
It started out as just like a quick little, not necessarily a one-liner, but kind of set up, punch. So it was maybe 45 to 60 seconds. Now it's probably a 3-minute bit. And that's my first time having a bit that goes that long, and it feels pretty cool. Like, I feel like that's a really big milestone for, especially like myself, a storyteller comic, instead of one of these like Mark Normand or Nathan Rivas even. He's really good at short, quick, awesome quips.
That's why Mr. Wright is on that.
Yep. Yeah. Stephen Wright is one of the ultimate. Yeah.
This isn't just a list. This is a list of some of my favorite comedians of all time, but they're also unique innovators of comedy.
Yeah.
Like, if you haven't seen Eddie Murphy's Delirious and Raw,
you
can watch it right now. It will be relevant right now. He shot that shit in the 80s, dude.
Yes.
It's relevant right goddamn now. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah. And no one ever says this.
How do you transcend 4 decades of a comedy special, or 2 of them?
I don't know.
Tell me that's not innovation. Tell me that's not unique.
He is one of those unique cats. Like we were saying earlier, he's one of the few unique inside of comedy that also has these like multi-pillar careers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot deny the name that is Eddie Murphy.
Exactly. Beverly Hills Cop
Thank
alone.
you.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
It's honestly why I got my criminal justice degree. Is
Because of
Beverly
that.
Hills Cop. I wanted to be a detective.
Dude, that is the funniest movie. Especially if you're a kid watching it. Like, if you haven't seen Beverly Hills Cop 1 through 4, I think. How many did he do? 3 or 4 of them? I don't remember.
I know there's a third, and I can't remember if they stopped at 3 or if they went to a 4th.
I can't remember either, but treat yourself to that.
Yeah,
because
third was at Disney World or whatever.
Their rendition of a Disney World? Yeah, I remember that one.
Okay.
And
I don't think there was one after that. Damn it, I'm going to have to go watch those movies.
This is why, like, again, these 6 people exist for a reason, because they changed the way we looked at funny.
Exactly.
They changed it in their own unique way. Like Stephen Wright, he's the king of one-liners for a reason, dude.
Yeah, without Stephen Wright, we wouldn't have another one of my favorites, Mitch Hedberg.
Yes.
I love Mitch. There's so many albums of his I could just recite.
And like, there's so many comedians today that have to pay homage to the way George Carlin did it, because his wordmanship. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
I
Tell
can't
me
imagine
about a better master of the English language.
the 7 words you can't say on television, dude. I had the 7 dirty words bit memorized.
Didn't we all?
By the time I was 12.
I knew. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, oh God.
And the way he breaks it down.
Yeah.
Into almost, I think it's like 40 minutes of it is just like dedicated to these 7 words and the words prior that we could use and why. This one is, and again, I would not ruin it in any way because it's still relevant right now, because we're still going through this bullshit of like what we FCC, can and can't say.
Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, like these guys are what started so much of everything. Like another person in that situation, Dave Attell. Yeah, Dave Attell is my comedy granddad.
You're the second person to mention Dave Attell. Unfortunately, and I don't have it with me, it's on my phone. This list of 6 started at 25, and Dave was really high up there.
Yeah.
Like, Dave was, and not that it was in any order of like hierarchy. It was just my favorite 25.
Yeah.
And that was still a big list. and then I had to just break it down because it just wasn't
Yeah,
fitting properly in the idea I had for it. So like to get it down to 6, it took 2 hours.
Oh yeah, I
It took forever for me to be like, but come on, he's just as good. You know what I mean? Like it was hard.
Yeah, it takes the underlying things that come with it. Like I said, Tom is one of my favorite. I know he's not the best comedian in the game.
He was on that list.
Yeah.
So is Bert.
See,
So is Chappelle.
something about Bert is the more time goes on, the more I don't necessarily like him as much.
Interesting.
Yeah, I used to love Bert. When I was a drunk, people called me Bert because I was when I was drunk around my friends specifically. I was big and outgoing and loud and bubbly up until we left and went to a bar, and then someone bumped into me and I turned into a rage monster. But yeah, something about it. It's probably just because I can't relate to it as much because he's a dad comic now. Not in the sense that like he's a comic for dads, but a lot of his stuff is rooted around having children.
I mean, if you look at, I think it's 3 or 4 specials at this point, and there is this theme of the family and the progression of the family and the funny that's come from that. And I love that he was able to go from the machine and
Flying
his party
dildos
stuff, and he transitioned into still the party animal, but also a parent and finding the hilarious shit that his kids do.
It is also hilarious to see what happens to the frat dude 20 years later.
Yeah.
That's exactly who he is. I mean, he's known as the #1 partier in the country at one point. Yeah.
Time Magazine or what magazine? I forget what
I think
magazine
it was. Rolling Stone.
Rolling Stone. Yeah,
Yeah.
they made him their party animal of the year.
Yeah.
And to that extent, I think you at 22 may fall out of love with Kreischer.
Yeah, for now.
For now, but I feel like the 32-year-old version of you may revisit these albums because your children may be in that stage of life, and it's, as a parent, you think about it and you understand that his funny is also kind of making it okay for all of us as parents to understand we're going to fuck up. And our kids are going to be morons for a lot of their life until they actually get it together.
Yeah.
Which is, honestly, we were all morons until
We were all morons and fuck-ups.
none of us were born Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Because you know why? None of us are Elon Musk. Let's just be honest
And
about
Elon
it.
Musk fucked up. He just fucked up in different autistic smart ways.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not dismissing it. I'm sure he's had his quirks and shit he's done.
I mean, he did name his son Wingdings as instead of a name. I don't really want my own kids because of my stuff.
You're 22, bro.
But I want to adopt, and that's kind of always been my thing. I've always kind of wanted to adopt kids because, like, there's already so many kids out there, and some of them don't have families, and then I'm just going to produce and make more of me, and then just have even more people. Like,
you're not going to make more of you. That's a common misconception.
Okay,
you're going to make people that eventually will grow up to have likenesses to you in personality, in the way that they think, even in exterior features, but they will be individuals that will surprise and delight you to no end.
That is true. Yeah.
And adoption is something that I've always been in favor of, and I think it's a great idea. But if you are blessed with the ability of having your own, have your own and also adopt.
I've definitely gone back and forth on it. Like,
there's a really high chance that the past has taught you what your kids will never be exposed to, which means the cycle is even further broken. Your parents went through hell fighting for decades to kind of show you guys that, even through this, there can be a family unit.
Yeah.
Now you can have the opportunity with your significant other to show that we'll fight once in a while, but this is what a family unit looks like. And then your kids will just follow that cycle, and the Paxtons will no longer have, the Paxton Bailey, Baileys. Right?
Yeah.
The Baileys will no longer have this lingering cloud of we're going to fuck up.
Yeah.
Give it 2 or 3 generations and it goes away.
Yeah, that's definitely what I've come back to, is like, once I was old enough to look back on my parents and see that they had an upbringing to come from and they did do better than what their parents did for them. Once I was able to kind of let go of that chip on my shoulder, like I was saying earlier, I definitely saw or could see myself being more of a family man of my own accord and not adopting kids and stuff of that nature. But I don't know, man.
Why don't you be, my opinion, be honest with yourself. You're 22. This
Yeah.
shouldn't even be a thought.
So the only reason it's a thought is because I was really adamant as a child. Like,
To adopt?
no, the other way. Like,
To
I
never
really
have
wanted.
kids. Oh,
No,
you wanted to have kids.
I wanted to have a huge family and stuff like that. It's kind of because in my household we're all pretty independent. So we've
Okay.
got a really small family, and we kind of keep it smaller. Like
What is the family, by the way? It's mom, dad, you, siblings?
mom, dad, me, and my younger sister. But
Okay.
we're also 7 years apart, so there's not a whole lot of. I'll be honest. There's not a whole lot of connection between her and I. We're two very, very different people, and by the time she came around, I was already old enough to be doing and taking care of my own things. Like I was cooking for myself and doing my laundry and all that by 7.
Okay.
So
So you were very independent.
very independent, and for a long time I didn't have a familial like draw. So like we never ate dinner as a family. That was one thing, like because we were all so busy. Like I would come home from football or baseball practice and it would be 8 and everyone had already eaten, so I'd make my own dinner. And like my dad was on a even before it was the fad, he was doing low and no carb diets
Keto and stuff?
basically. But it was before even keto was keto.
Okay.
So it was just basically keto. And so he cooked for himself because we didn't want to eat his slop. And then my sister's really picky, so she got chicken nuggets. And then my mom would sometimes cook for her and I, but more often than not, it was me eating leftovers and then all of us eating in separate rooms. So I didn't have a huge like familial bond. So when I was younger, I wanted to create that. And then when I got a little older, but not where I'm at now, I wanted nothing to do with it because I didn't want to end up in the situation I was in growing up with my kids. And now I'm kind of coming back around to the whole idea. Like, I think I could be a good father.
I don't see a reason why not.
Yeah.
Again, not at 22 because why?
God, no. God,
You know, but like late 20s, early 30s, that's a good time to really evaluate this situation.
I feel like I'd
think.
definitely be a good early 30s dad.
Again, like reevaluating it at that point is probably smarter because the 32-year-old version probably hates you already.
Oh, yeah.
Just be fair.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you don't know this guy, but he hates the 22-year-old
I mean,
version
I hate
of you.
the
Because
12
he's so much better than the 22-year-old
Yeah,
version.
and I hate the 12-year-old version of me.
Yeah, because you're so much better than that.
Yeah.
And which is that's the best thing you can do is always kind of chase the better version of you.
Matthew McConaughey said it best at that acceptance speech where he said, my hero is 10 years from now me. Because, I mean, it's a little bit, not necessarily masochistic, but if you set an unreachable goal, it is both helpful and kind of hurtful, but I'd rather do that than nothing.
I think it may have been the CEO of Alibaba, the Chinese company that said this, but it may have been someone else, or it could have been somebody from Microsoft. But the thing was, if you're not actively killing your own business, someone else is. I think that's also a rule for life. If you're not actively killing the old version of yourself, someone else is.
Yep.
Which is the idea of the ideology and all this crap that people kind of fall into is because they are not on a path of self-betterment.
Yep.
So they just kind of like other people can influence them and they're no longer they. They are part of this hive of people that don't really have an idea of their own.
And it's funny you say kill that because that's verbatim how I put it. Like now with time passing and shit like that, you run into people that you went to high school or middle school with and you didn't see since then. And in all honesty, from the time I left for college and to the time I got back, I lost 75 pounds. So not only did I change behaviorally a lot to the point where people didn't recognize me, I also changed literally physically. And when people like, hey, oh my God, you're nothing like you used to be. I have a joke where I constantly say, oh yeah, I killed him. I killed that version of me. He's no more. He was a pussy. I couldn't stand him. And now I'm me. And that guy's gone and he'll never come back. Because if I didn't kill that guy and he was still rooted around, there would never been one shot, a chance in hell that I would have ever stood up on stage.
Yeah, I mean, I think Goggins talks about like your inner bitch.
Yep. Yeah.
I think it's kind of to that. It's in parallel to that. You know, like you're killing that.
You need that drill sergeant voice in your head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, he takes it to extremes that most of us can't.
Yeah.
Apparently, he records all the hate comments he gets, puts it on a continuous loop, and hears it as he's working out as motivation. Like all the crap people say about him online, he will read it out loud and then listen to it back on like on a loop.
He might have just changed my workouts. That sounds awesome.
Really?
Yeah. So that was another like path of me, like everyone else did when COVID and all that shit was hitting. I was really, really, really into fitness. To the extent where I was skipping my criminal justice classes that I needed to take to go with my roommate to his physical therapy and like sports medicine classes. I would go sit in on those instead of my classes. Get the knowledge. Yeah, because those were way more interesting to me, but I didn't want to be like a physical therapist or anything like that. It was just cool to learn. And not only did I lose the weight that I did and get to a place where I'm comfortable with who I am now, it also gave me, at the time, my best friend. So, like, when we moved in together in college, like I said, I didn't have anyone that I went to school with that I knew. And my roommate at the time, and I say this to the day that I die, I looked him up on Twitter when I found out who I was rooming with. And my first impression was I looked at him, I go, God damn it, my new roommate is a douchebag. I was just in his wedding. He reminded me of the kids that I grew up with. Kind of, he's in the niche group of people that when they get dressed up, they wear boots, but they're not cowboys. They wear Sperry's the other times, basically. So like, he's got very...
Hang on, non-Texan. Break it down for me.
Yeah,
I'm a moron.
He's got Texan golf course community vibes.
Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So like he'll rep that he's country and wear the boots and the jeans and the Nike Pro Fit like I'm basically doing. But he was also the nicest man I've ever met. And I love him to death. I fucking love you, Justin, if you watch this. He saved me. And not only did that, like I just stuck to him. Like I forced myself to become he and his now wife's third wheel. That wasn't their decision. They never invited me, but like not in a shitty way. It was just like they always knew that I was going to tag along and they were just cool with it.
Doesn't she have a friend she can introduce you to?
She does, Tanner, but I think that she already said no, which sucks because she fucking rocks.
What's this lady's name? The wife of your friend?
The wife is Tanner.
Tanner?
Yeah.
Tanner.
Yeah, Tanner. I need you.
Hi, Tanner.
Yeah.
I know we've never met, but could you do him a solid? He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
I mean, sure he'll treat her right.
As soon as I make it rich, Tanner, I will buy your house right next to my house, and then we can just basically live on one of those no lots that has no yard and just live right next to each other again. I know you'd hate that, but me and Justin would love it, and you and your friend wife would love it too.
Tanner, I will get him off of this cliff. We don't have to go down that route, but I see a future rich godfather to your children.
You better. You better. Your kids will be so fucking funny, and I'll teach them how to play baseball just like you and your husband want.
I'm not going to say anything else. You know, this is the Match.com pitch. This is what I got.
Christian Mingle, but for friends.
There you go. Now, I have a question that is unique to the way some guys dress in Texas. And maybe it happens in other parts of the country, but it's foreign to me. Wearing a polo T-shirt tucked into shorts. Can someone explain to me? Is this a Texas thing? Is this a South thing? Does it happen in more places than I'm?
It's a Southern yet also poor thing, because where that comes from, I think I'm not 100% sure.
I see some rich people doing that shit. Like they come out of Bentleys with that stuff.
Oh God. Okay, never mind.
So somebody explain this to me, please.
Where I was going with that is the idea that like, do you know who Dusty Slay is, the comedian? Really long hair, super country, kind of Theo-esque themes where he grew up white trash and poor.
Sounds so familiar.
He's on
for some odd
the
reason.
Netflix Degenerate series.
Oh yeah, now I know
Okay.
what you're talking about. Okay, exactly.
Yeah, so he has a bit about how when he would go to church, he'd wear his nicest clothes, which was his jean shorts that didn't have a stain and his brand new NASCAR T-shirt.
Okay.
And he'd tuck that in. That was a big part about it. Is like if you untuck it, then you're ready for like your normal school day. But if you tuck it in, that means you're meeting Jesus. And I feel like it comes from that because I
mean, I don't want to offend anybody in any way. It's just
I will.
It was foreign to me to see because I saw it once or twice, and I was like, maybe.
Yeah.
But then you see it frequently all over the place, and you're like,
you look
am
like
I doing something wrong
dorks.
here, or
No,
what's
no,
going
you're
on?
doing just fine. Starting your own fad or sticking to what's true to you. And
This is what I wear usually. It's a t-shirt or a hoodie and like something like sweats or something.
Exactly.
I
Those-
don't care about fashion the slightest bit. I
don't
wear
either.
the same company. It's called Built Basics. I've been buying their stuff for 5 years now. I love it. It's all online. I don't care. Like if you open my closet, it's the same blue, black, and gray t-shirt, same blue, black sweats, and a few jeans. That's it. There's nothing there.
yeah, mine's all Target and Walmart clothing. But I will say Walmart's been stepping up their clothing, and Target is just awesome.
Target's always had some really good stuff. I'm not familiar with Walmart's clothing selection. I bought hunting boots from Walmart once.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I was like, all right, I guess.
I bought, I don't have hunting boots, but I have like rubber fishing boots.
Okay.
From there. Same shit. And, you know, they're good boots. But they have like very, what we were talking about, golf community, like, or golf country club shirts style.
That's what those polos look like. Because they're not really,
Yeah.
they're not cotton polos.
They're like the slick dry fit kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's only prevalent somewhere, for some reason here, I think.
Part
Or
of it
is
is because
just
it's so
seeing it
hot.
here?
And like,
Wouldn't
that's where
a
I found
loose-fitting
those.
t-shirt be more comfortable?
When you're not trying to dress up, yeah, 100%. I don't know why they'd have to like. It's something
I'll be
about.
honest with you. A cotton polo will breathe more in the hot summer versus that polyester cotton blend crap that gives you that shiny look. It's
Yeah.
not breathing at all.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know if I've ever.
Like the cotton fabric, if you look at it under a microscope, it has a lot more gaps
Yeah.
than the polyurethane woven nylon bullshit.
Yeah,
Because that's all like synthetic fabrics, and they can be very tightly woven together. That's how you get the shiny veneer, I
okay.
think.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know.
So I'm a person that grew up in Texas. I was like, somebody's got to answer this question for me, please.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I think it's people thinking it looks good, or oh, you know what? Okay, here's a constant theme now that I'm looking back on it. Usually, the people that you say are doing this are fat, in my recollection, and I think it's a fat thing to do because they need such a big shirt because they have such a big belly that their shirts are so long.
Okay. See, in LA, even the fat guy will just wear a t-shirt, or even if they're wearing a polo, it's not tucked into their shorts. It just covers their gut. That's it. It's still a normal tight-fitting shirt.
Yeah.
It just covers the gut. Over there, it's kind of like, fine, this is your body, cool.
Yeah.
You know, like tucking it in and it's not making you any skinnier.
Yeah, and
It's
it doesn't
not
when you tuck
helping.
it in either. Yeah, you look way fatter, honestly, in my opinion. 'Cause I don't know if it's necessarily that you actually do look fatter, or it just I know what you're trying to do, and I can see that you don't look what you're trying to look like.
It just felt like somebody along the way just kind of tricked everybody to thinking like this is okay.
Yeah, it looks so bad. Like, I mean, I grew up with a mom, and when I say she hit me in like a regular way. Like a mom would fuck. Okay, so I was taller than my mom by the time I was 8 because my
Okay.
mom is very short. She's 5'3" or 5'4". So she didn't mind slugging me in the shoulder or something like that. And you know, I never thought of it as like abusive, so I always say that. But in those situations, that's when I'd catch one of those shoulder slugs because she was not gonna let me walk out looking like that, raggedy or dumb or shit like that.
Right.
What the fuck are you wearing? Go put on this or untuck that. You look stupid.
Right. You need to be presentable for
Yeah.
her.
Where are those people's moms?
Where's the slug?
Yeah, dude. Your mom should have hit you.
They probably did though.
Yeah. Yeah. No, knowing some of the people.
Everybody got a
think,
spanking, all right? Like,
Oh,
if you were
yeah.
born, I don't know, before 90, I'm going to say, you probably got spanked in some level of severity.
Yeah.
It made you a better person.
That was another thing is I only got spanked twice in my life, but that's because the second time I got spanked, my mom realized that like, oh, that's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Cause that's when she started like punching me in the shoulder. Cause I was taller than her, but I was also a fucking fat kid. So like she had some fat layers to punch through to get to anywhere
Yeah,
where
you
it
had
hurt.
absorption built in.
Yeah.
You're just like dissipating the
Yeah,
pain.
I was a walking baby seal at all times. Just fucking yeah, it was bloated to an fucking nth degree.
Which probably added to your antisocial stuff and your anxiety
Oh,
and
yeah.
feeling that you were a loner because you
Yeah.
were overweight and all
Oh.
this shit.
Yeah, 100. Okay, so here's a story that I've been meaning to try and sit down and write a bit about. But there was one time in middle school, and I still remember her name, Lauren Stover. She's great, but at the pinnacle of this story, she didn't really do anything wrong. But the way she said it just ruined my whole fucking year.
Okay.
So just in a weird circumstance, I walked down the stairs from our class, and I stopped like right in front of the stairs I think I was grabbing something out of my backpack or something like that. And she walked down the stairs and immediately like turned and pivoted like 180 to look like backwards and up the stairs basically.
Okay.
And the way that she did it, we ran into each other and our ass cheeks touched perfectly, like together, like 4 butt cheeks, just all right here. And in front of the whole class, she says, "Your ass is bigger than mine." And when you're a dude with a big ass at 10, that's not a cool thing. Now, my bulbous ass gets me fucking mostly black girls. Black girls love my fucking bubble butt. It's hilarious because I never thought I'd be a black girl's favorite. I really didn't. But
I've never understood the concept of, at least in the heterosexual realm, of a guy's ass. I don't get it. I'm like, what does it do for a woman ever? Somebody explain it to me.
And
like
it's
us
not
for
like,
guys, there's a visual appeal to a beautiful ass. You're like,
yeah, I'll never also be with a lady and in reverse cowgirl or doggy style. She'll never be back there.
this is very true.
Yeah, so like that is a really good point. Like you
what's
only
the
see
point
my
of
ass
it?
when I turn around. It's the same thing with like a good back. Like every chick nowadays is like the hottest thing you can have is a nice back. And you never see it.
What does that mean?
Like your back muscles are defined.
Ah, okay. I'm sorry, I'm out of touch. You know,
Yeah.
I don't care what the current generation care about. 'Cause I'm married.
I mean, yeah, you're already locked down with kids.
I'm good. I couldn't care less what I need to work on to appeal to whatever the women are now.
The masses, as long as you please the one lady you have, you're good.
I'm okay. She seems to be okay with me.
She seems to be okay with me. That's what you're looking for in marriage.
After 10 years, yeah, that's probably what you're looking for. If there isn't a morning of like, you know what you should change about you, then you're doing great. You're fine. If you don't have that thought about her and she doesn't have that thought about you, you're doing solid.
Yeah, you killed it.
You're doing
crushing
solid.
it.
You seem like you found happiness.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
So interestingly, your buddy had his dad as an influence. Was there someone in your family that had some sort of artistic background or something there that kind of may have influenced you to pursue creative arts?
So, not really. I do kind of always hear stories about how my pawpaw was very musically talented,
Okay.
but I never got to see that.
Papa
'cause
would be your
my mom's dad. My mom's dad was like a savant from what I've heard on the piano and like would play a fiddle. So a violin, but for country people.
I know what a fiddle
Okay,
is.
just in case. And
Oh shit, I'm not country enough. That's the
That's a good
best thing. Too much of a city boy. Oh, that's the best.
oh, dude, I
I love
had to
country
get.
music, so I know what a fiddle is, bro.
Okay.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't look the part, but I like the music.
Well, here's the thing: is people think I look the part, and I'm over country music. I've been coined the term y'alternative,
Okay.
which means basically I'm just too city for country people and too country for city people. Like, I go hang out with my city friends. And they're like, "Y'all want to go like shoot guns or something? I got guns if y'all want to go do that. And I'm like, nah, we're gonna stay here and play video games. I'm like, y'all.
My friend, you have the wrong city friends. I
Yeah.
have city friends in these cities that love shooting, love hunting, love going camping.
Yes, I do.
And I've only been here for a minute.
Yeah, but then I'd go fucking to Stephenville in college, and you're like, y'all want to get drunk and touch a bull's balls? I'm like, no, man, I go play video games. Fuck that. Y'all want to play Madden? Want to have a tournament? Fuck that. No.
It almost feels like you're at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh,
man.
every
They're doing
time.
everything you didn't want to do.
Exactly. Which is probably why I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see how, like, not fitting in a square peg in a round hole, and you're like,
Yeah.
you know what? I'll make my own damn hole.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I did. Is like I did have a funny dad. My dad was, well, okay. My dad always tried to be funny.
Was?
Is.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah, he's around. He tried stand up at one point, but I didn't know that up until maybe even after starting comedy. But he always was trying to be the funny guy in the room. So I think I saw that and was trying to emulate that. But it was really just kind of okay. So I have to shout him out every time this subject comes up. My good friend Johnny, he was the one that first put me onto Tom. And Johnny walked up and said, "This guy talks, or you talk a lot like this guy. You sound like him, this, that, and the other, da-da-da-da-da. You should watch him." And I watched him, and that's when I just immediately, like, fucking clicked. Because not only did I have a really good friend reach out and say, like, "Hey, this guy reminds me of you. I was thinking of you when I saw it. This. Here you go." And that was cool. That didn't happen often to me back then. And I found something that really made the really shitty parts of my life awesome. So I would just go upstairs and sit in the dark, like I was saying. If I wasn't listening to music or watching movies, I was sitting there trying to learn every comedian's hour.
Interesting. So you're studying their work.
Yeah, even before I knew I wanted to be a stand-up. I was just sitting there, like, I think the first one I listened to was Tom Segura's Mostly Stories.
Okay.
On Netflix, and I had that one memorized for a little bit.
Which is an awesome special.
It's a great special.
So good.
And then I went back and watched Completely Normal, his first Netflix special. I got that one memorized a little bit.
Now you're putting me in the mood to go watch the special.
I love that dude because you look at Tom and you hear how he talks, and he sounds really dark.
Yeah.
And then he makes something so dark, so silly, and that's what I love. I love, like, my first joke that I ever liked and ever knew to work, and it's one that I'm still proud of, honestly, because it honestly sounded like a joke that I didn't write at the time because I wasn't enough of a experienced open micer. And then I would just come out with this joke and everyone's like, "Oh, okay." But it's a joke about postpartum depression. And like my mom, in the joke, she had it. She didn't actually have it with me. She might have had postpartum depression with my sister. But the extent of the joke is I find a funny way to say that my mom tried to drown me, which was, "Mom, silver lining is without your postpartum depression, I don't think I would have learned to swim."
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
I was so fucking proud of that joke. And that's when that was the first joke that made me realize who I was as a comic. Is I like the aspect of taking dark things and getting down, talking to like a finite point, and so people can relate to it, and then just like fart dicks jokes and like ha 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 ha, like it's all gonna be okay kind of shit.
Right.
Like if that wasn't my perspective, the Des Bryant bit wouldn't have come about. My favorite joke I have is about a girl I was seeing for a little bit, and how the tag is she put a coochie curse on me because I gave her the nickname Voodoo Pussy the first time we were hanging out because I thought like I love taking like jokes and just like too early into relationships even most times like I'll like come here sugar tits and like I'll just give girls old school nicknames or like I'll call them a hussy or is it Scarlet or
Scarleton.
Harlot Scarleton and a harlot.
Yes.
I'll call them that and sometimes it doesn't
Sugar
work
tits,
out.
Dude, that's Segura. Like the first person I ever heard say sugar tits was hip, and I fucking cried laughing. Like the way you said it just now was so good, so good.
I do that with dude friends of mine too. Like Something
Sugar
about-
tits?
Yeah,
That sounds good.
I'll call my friend Sugar Tits, or one of my best friends, Taylor. I call him Sugar Bear. Like, I love calling him Sugar Bear in public too. Or in the same group of friends in college with Taylor was a friend of ours, Riley, and Riley's half white, half black. He's mixed.
Okay.
And we worked at the same place. We worked at an HEB in college, and in front of all of the super Republican white customers, I'd walk up to this dude and I'd say, "What's up, my beautiful brown skinned baby boy?" And then once I got a look from a white person, I'd start laughing and he'd start chuckling because he knew what I was doing. And I would take my favorite bit out of that movie, Tommy Boy, with Chris Farley, and I go, "Okay, now give me a kiss." And I'd lean in with like a huge open mouth and my tongue sticking out. And I fucking loved watching fucking like homophobes just squirm in that situation. That was another thing too, is I learned early on that I'd rather overly love my friends than like shit on them so much. Like, "Oh, you know I shit on you because I love you." I'm like, "Yeah, but you also don't ever say you love me. So I'll just sit here and constantly like, dude, I love you so much, man. Give me a kiss and let me suck your dick or something." Just because, and that's my way of saying, "I got you, homie. I love you, dude. Thank you." And I like to flip the table.
See, fucking comedians, bro. Only you guys can say shit like that to each other. The rest of us, if friends regularly said that to each other, you'd be like, "Tom, are you okay? What's going on?" Like,
exactly.
what the fuck?
That's the thing is, you gotta.
You guys are exempt from a lot of shit, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly.
Oh, yeah, because I say shit like that, people think I'm a lunatic, and honestly, I just kind of let people still think I'm a lunatic, because I'm kind of a lunatic. You got to be a lunatic to fucking go up on stage,
Yeah.
and do all that shit, and just the biggest thing is you got to be afraid to, or you can't be afraid to fail.
No, you have to embrace it.
Yeah,
Especially as a stand-up, dude. You're gonna fail forever until you don't.
you're gonna fail 80% of the time. And
Even seasoned vets, like they all have horror stories of like, "I fucking bombed so bad."
yeah.
Fuck, even Chappelle talks about it. Remember, like one time he got way super high.
Yes, done that.
And he even talked about it in one of his specials where he was like, "I was too fucking high," and and something about like, "You guys are never getting your money back," and all this shit. I was like, fucking, nobody thinks that, but like he says it, and you're like, okay, that's so fucking
You guys ain't
funny.
getting your money back.
Exactly. So when you are developing your work,
Yeah.
how much of it gets tossed out or reworked based on crowds, and how many crowds does it take for you to kind of feel like this is working, dig into it more, or I got to go back to the drawing board?
Usually, every time I have like a 5 minutes of new material that I want to work on, I work on it for about 2 weeks. And at the end of the 2 weeks, I have a pretty good idea of, okay, 30% of this new 5 can stay, 30% definitely has to be reworked, and 40 of it has to fucking go. So I'm pretty liberal on getting rid of a lot of my stuff. And by getting rid of, I just mean put it on the back burner. Because there have been so many of jokes of mine that have failed, and then I started using those tags to make a joke longer.
So kind of like the fishbowl concept. They just go there. They're not really thrown away. They're still available to go back to at some point.
Yes, that, and I mean...
And how does the going back happen? Like, I'm sure at this point there's been stuff that's been back burnered that's come front burner. Like, what makes it suddenly click in your mind of being like, "Oh, I think I can actually make this funny by doing it like this," or what actually happens?
Sometimes I'll just sit down and look at like my themes. I'll break down. I've got a huge whiteboard in my office, and on it is every single joke that I have that I can work and I haven't just absolutely trashed.
Okay.
And when I get really neurotic about my shit's not working, I'll go look at the board and I'll take like my journal and I'll write down every joke and every topic with it and match them up. Like, okay, I've got a joke about, I got a joke about where I was really into the Creed movies for the new Michael B. Jordan boxing movies.
Okay.
I got really into that franchise. And
Did you do Rocky before?
no, because I hate Rocky.
What?
I hate Rocky. I hate it so much.
Okay, sidebar. We're going to come back to that. I genuinely want to hear this.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so I look at my Creed bit, and the tags in it are I call Michael B. Jordan cute as a quick little opener to it. Kind of in the same idea that a comedian starts out his set with a self-deprecation.
Okay.
I kind of like to start a lot of my jokes with some sort of self-deprecation too, so people will just hop on board with the joke.
Yeah, because self-deprecation runs a fine line. If you do too much of it, the audience starts pitying.
Yeah.
More than, and that's not what you want.
No.
You want the self-deprecation to maybe
loosen 'em
build
up.
the foundation.
Yeah.
And then from there, just like expand.
See, okay, I think a good self-deprecation joke is like landing. If you're boxing, you land a quick jab to disorient them. Your jab's not going to be what knocks someone out. It's going to be, yes.
And I learned that today in class.
There you go.
The jab is kind of the peppering. You're peppering them
Yeah,
up.
you sit behind your jab and you wait for openings and you just keep using your jab and like, okay, this every time I throw a jab, he does this one move, so I'm going to fucking counteract, throw the jab or even feint a jab and then just go up into this situation. And that's kind of how I see it. Like, I get them loosened up with a joke about me to where they'll be more accepting where I might shit on someone else.
Well,
And
yeah, I think that's kind of, because otherwise you look cocky and pompous.
Yeah.
Now you're like, dude, I'm just as fucked up as you guys are. Now here's why everybody else is.
yeah, exactly.
Is that kind of like what the idea is?
Exactly. We're the same, and here's why, but I'm going to shit on them, but I'll have to shit on me first.
Right.
So that Creed bit is, it's topics, I guess. I could throw it in with gay jokes that I have about me. I talk about black people a lot because I love black people and I love black culture. Like, I love the Wu-Tang, like I brought up, and Creed and this and that and the other. And I love talking about black people in a positive manner because a lot of people look at me, including a Puerto Rican barber I had who said I looked racist and can't rock a goatee, and then I never had a goatee again because she was 100% right. I looked like a fucking disgruntled detective in a sheriff's department somewhere.
You want the truth? Nobody rocks a goatee.
Yeah, no one does.
Nobody rocks. A beard you can rock. Mustaches, to a certain degree, some guys are pulling it off.
And
lovely.
the fad will die again. People with mustaches need to realize that. The mustache is really only back, I think, because of Top Gun.
Yeah, man. Enjoy the stash while you can.
Exactly.
I am supremely enjoying laughing my ass off at the mustache. Sorry, I don't care. It's funny to me. But the more of you guys that keep the stash, the funnier it is for me.
Most of y'all look like 1920 cartoon villains that tie people to railroad tracks. Like, know your place, but rock the mustache while you can.
They also look like every single porn star in the 70s.
Yep. Yeah.
They just do.
Yeah. I like, at that point, you look like a fucking female with bush. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take that back because I like a good female with bush. Because, okay, this is another...
These days, man. What the fuck?
I can't do the no hair because that is just immature feeling. Like, just like seeing a fucking Barbie doll down there, it feels like a toddler. I get uncomfortable.
Well, the reason is because the women in your age bracket and lower are so much closer to children, if you think about it, than 30s and 40s and 50s. And, like, you'll get there, probably.
So I'm trying to fuck cougars. Woo!
There you go. Fuck them old while you can,
Yeah,
I guess. I have no idea. No.
Yeah. So, yeah, like, I just like to... I'll look up like, oh, okay, so gay and then black bit, and then I'll use it about if I go down a tangent of sports. Like I've done a couple shows at sports bars, so I'll make more sports tailored sets.
Okay.
Kind of.
Because you're feeling out your crowd, you know what you're working.
Yeah. So like I've got a couple jokes like about the Cowboys and then UFC and this and that and the other, and I can put the Creed bit in there. Or I can go to a black room and I can do my Creed bit. I can do my I can't watch porn with black guys in it anymore bit. And I can do...
You don't even have to say the bit. I can figure out what it's about.
Okay, so that's actually where I take it at first. That's where you think I'm taking it. And then I come in with a 180. So I'll go ahead and burn it. I don't care. I can't watch porn with black guys in it anymore. And I know what y'all are thinking. It's going to be just another white dude saying, I don't have enough dick to do what they do. I don't. I've got enough dick for missionary and apologizing after missionary. But my real reason is because I don't know if I have to be the one to tell y'all this, but black guys, y'all have ashy balls. And then that'll get a pop in a black room because every single black person, you look out in the crowd and they're touching the people they're next to. You're like, oh, okay, I got him. I got him on the ropes. And then you just sit there, like, you can make fun of it a little bit. Like, yeah, and why is every camera angle shot from back here and down here? So all I see is the black guy's balls and then maybe a 1/8 sliver of ass cheek from the lady. But that's it. And I love that joke because black people are like, what, man? I thought you were going to do the fucking white dick joke. I'm like, nah, man. I mean, yes, but
No.
I actually watched your shit. y'all put time and energy into this craft, and I'll give it what it deserves.
I like it. It's an interesting take, and I wasn't expecting it. Like the ashy balls.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
That's the thing is another huge inspiration of mine was Anthony Jeselnik, because his writing is incredible. With every comedian, even open micers, I sit there and I hear the setup and I'm basically pausing in my head. I'm like, okay, what is this going to be about? They're like, this is an old joke. Oh, yeah. This is an old joke, but what's the hardest part of a vegetable to eat? The wheelchair. But I'll hear, what's the hardest part of the vegetable to eat? I'm like, okay, it's going to be about a wheelchair. And then I'm like, it's a crippled person. Yeah, I got it. I did that with professionals too. And I can guess some professionals' jokes, like where they're going to go. Not the whole joke or anything like that, but I can guess the topic.
Okay.
Jeselnik, I have never, or almost never been able to guess the topic. It's a 180 every time. And that's what you need, is you need the shock value in a lot of comedy.
Well, because he's so unassuming, too.
Yeah.
He just looks like a regular dude. He doesn't look like the guy that's going to be so fucking dark. And edgy. And the best part is, like, off the stage or, like, when he's being interviewed or something, he continues that bravado of, like, no, this is exactly who I am, which I'm pretty sure he probably isn't off stage. He's probably, like, a sweetheart of a human being to his friends and the people that know him. But he's deep into this. It's like the Larry the Cable Guy, too. It's an act. The guy is a completely different comedian, but nobody knows him prior to that work.
Exactly. I can't remember his real name either.
I'm sorry but the fact that he was able to pivot into this role and make it seem and feel so genuine that you only know him as Larry the Cable Guy is the same thing as, like, you only know Anthony Jeselnik as being this edgy, dark comedian, even though he's so unassuming.
Yeah.
He just hit it hard and he took it all the way.
Yeah, he has one of my favorite jokes, and it opened his special, which is incredible too. But it was just so simple. It was I walked up and I saw a baby sitting in a hot parked car, so I threw a brick at the window to help the baby. The window was rolled down, ruined that baby's week.
Oh shit.
I fucking cackle every time.
No. One of my favorite bits from Jeselnik is the one about his neighbor that has Alzheimer's.
Oh, yes.
And the joy that comes over his face every morning when he finds out his wife is dead. It's so, because literally no one would ever expect, because he's like, the way he says it, like the joy that comes, and you're like, and then
telling him his wife died years ago.
Like, I love that shit, dude. It's so good.
That and the have you heard the bit about him and his brother? Like, I had my brother staying with me, and it's kind of rough, normal type of situations. Like the other day, I opened the door and I caught him jacking off. I said, "Tony, get inside."
I've heard that one. Yeah, that's the shit. It's like you don't expect him to. It's a dick joke, but it's a completely different dick joke. Yeah, it's like a masterclass on a dick joke.
Yeah, like if people are guessing what you're about to say, it's gonna kill it, basically, because they think they're just as smart as you, and you don't want the crowd thinking that, because then at that point, that's when you get hecklers too.
Well, the way it's supposed to work, I guess, as a fan of comedy, is like whatever I'm thinking should not be what comes out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point. Like,
yeah, that just means he didn't put effort into it.
I shouldn't be thinking that. And if I am thinking that and you say that, either one of two things is happening. I'm fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Or you're just not.
Yeah, or just...
I'm going with the latter.
Yeah.
Because I'm not fucking hilarious. I'm just not.
I don't know, man. You got a good delivery.
But, like, the crowd that'd be sitting there and not... If we all think pink elephant and you say pink elephant, you missed it.
Yeah, yeah, you
But if
missed
we all
it.
think pink elephant and you say black dildo and it gets a laugh, then that was the actual objective.
Yeah, I gotta say, I was working this weekend, and this past Sunday was a comedy magic show, and I'll be 100% honest. I
At Dallas
wanted
Comedy
it to
Club,
fail. Dallas Hyenas.
Dallas Hyenas. Okay.
I wanted it to fail. I don't like magic. I think it's weird. Well, I won't say that. I respect magic, but I don't want to watch it. And then,
Interesting.
um,
Do you find it an art form?
yeah, if you sit down and make the magic trick, but if you do a card trick that you learned off the YouTube, no.
Okay.
But this guy was fucking phenomenal. I want to give him that. And he was a comedic magician. And whenever you hear comedic magician, in the same times that I hear musical comedy, God. Bang, 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 bang. I
can't do musical comedy.
I hate it. I hate it
Doesn't
so
work.
much. And he fucking crushed it.
Really?
Yeah, he really did. His jokes were better than his magic. And I'm not saying his magic was bad. His magic was awesome. He did really well. But his jokes were way better than I expected.
I'm almost happier that his jokes were better.
Yeah.
I'm actually happier that his jokes were better than his magic.
Yeah, I honestly, like, that's part of magic to me is like I went to one magic show once and it was an hour long, and I would have, if it was just the last magic trick they did and that's what I sat for because it was like 15 minutes long, that would have been perfect. But an hour of it was too much with no entertainment in between the tricks.
So I kind of lost interest in magic once I actually was old enough to understand that it was a theatrical event more than it was magic.
Yeah. Once you figure out a lot of magic is you're looking too close at the tree to see the forest kind of situation. You're like, okay, so it's all misdirection is like there was one time I caught one of his bits and how he did it. Or not bits, his tricks. And I won't reveal how he did it. But basically, he was hiding something and he just like started, and this is where the comedy aspect of his magic comes into play too, because he pointed out a crowd member and just kind of shit on him once, but it gave him enough time to hide the thing that he was trying to hide. And that's where it becomes more of a performance to me that I respect. Because...
How interesting. The misdirection is the joke.
Yeah.
That's really crafty.
Yeah, that's what I liked.
So which means your jokes have to be good. Otherwise, the magic portion of it kind of fails.
Yeah. And every person has a joke that fails, even on this paid show that he has at Dallas Hyenas. He had a couple. I really expected a lot of his to fall flat. It was really good. His jokes were fairly scratch and sniff, but from a I won't call him a comedian because he's a comedian magician. From not a comedian alone, they were really good jokes.
Is it possibly that the crowd there knew what they were in for?
That and they were drunk easily, yeah. They could, which is also just what you want of a good crowd.
Yeah. The good crowd aspect does.
They carry as much as the show as the performer does.
Yeah, and I've said this before. It's like when I walk into a comedy club, if there's low murmurs, bad vibe. But if there's a bunch of people talking really loud and servers are just getting drinks and shit, you're like, this is going to be an interesting night.
Yeah.
Because the people are hyped up for it, which gets the comedians more hyped up for it, and they enjoy it. Like, you get completely different kind of sets.
Exactly. I mean, every comedian says it, but I could walk into an empty room and do the same set that did well the other night to no one, and it's just obviously not going to get any laughs. I need the crowd to be there, and they're as much a part of the show as I am.
And I don't know if I'm right or wrong about this, but I've kind of made an observation that the less crowd work I see, the better the sets actually were.
That is I feel like crowd work is definitely...
It's necessary. I think
necessary.
In small club environments, like especially Hyenas or Addison Improv, you want that because you get to everybody kind of like into this vibe together.
Yeah.
But you know when they stop that and do the set is because they just got you like amped up. Now it's going to go all the way through.
Yep.
But you also see like a good comedian, and this is the mark of a good comedian, understands his set's not working and goes back to the crowd work because that was working.
Yeah.
And the less of that you see, that means just like the vibe is there and the comedian is just good.
Yeah, that, and the biggest thing for any comic that's starting or in their 1 year, and obviously I'm still in my 1 year, so take this advice with a grain of salt, but before you ever master crowd work or even your joke writing or one of those two aspects, you have to work on your comfortability on stage first. You cannot do crowd work uncomfortably. It doesn't work. And that's what you see is you see a lot of these open mic comedians trying to be like who they're emulating. Like, I love Patrice and he did crowd work, so I'm going to do Patrice like crowd work when they're not Patrice. I'm not even saying they're not funny, because I've had situations where I tried to do crowd work, and just as a comedian, you got to be able to think you're funny. I know I'm funny. So I can sit there and say, I know I'm funny, but I tried doing crowd work in situations where I still wasn't comfortable being on stage, and it never went well because I was too worried about offending someone. I was too worried about stumbling on something or even not being able to take the premise that the crowd gave me.
I mean, that's such an important point, because confidence also would kind of allow you to step away from what you have rehearsed or worked on and off the cuff try to mess with people.
Yeah.
That's a completely different animal in and of itself.
Yeah, it's really tough, and that's where you got to look at these professional comedians who are crowd work specialists, and you just got to give them their props. Like, I'll never be a crowd work comedian. One of my favorites right now is Big J. Okerson. He's a crowd work comedian, but he's also a storyteller. I'll never be like that, but that doesn't mean I'm not gonna not try to be like that.
Yeah, big shout out to Legion of Skanks.
Oh,
You guys are
I'm a
amazing. I love Skankfest.
Yes.
Big J, and they're all Luis Gomez, like they're killers, dude.
Yes,
and Dave
dude.
Smith is with them usually. Like, by the way, Dave Smith, so much better as a political dude than he is as a comedian, because
Yeah.
this guy's so smart.
He's so smart, and I love smart comedy, but
like
it definitely has its time.
Yeah.
Like, Rogan was a really smart comic. I really enjoyed his specials on Netflix because, like, did you ever hear the bit about how edibles are broken down in your kidneys, and they've got the triglycerides or whatever that big fancy weed word is?
Here's the easy way. Was he wearing the black button-down shirt or the blue button-down shirt?
The blue button-down shirt.
Okay, yes. Now I'm with you.
Yeah. He was talking about how that happens, and he went through this like whole 3-minute speech on how weed breaks down, and none of it was really all that funny, but you were sucked into watching it. And then out of nowhere, he just comes in like, and I ate one teddy bear, and then the dolphins were spinning it, or the world was spinning, and I thought, oh no, he ate one edible teddy or gummy bear, and he was trying to figure out which way the earth was spinning while still communicating with dolphins. So, like, that was his joke, is he's just high as dick in Hawaii trying to figure out where the earth is spinning, because we've all been that fucking high before. And then all of that was after this fucking lecture that he just sat us through, and he never lost us.
Tell me if I'm misremembering this, but the lecture was a premise because old ladies were going into legal weed shops and they were just being blasted out into outer space because of like the shit that they were being sold.
That and the...
Was that this? Am I remembering this correct?
I think you're
this
partially
is a
correct.
Rogan thing.
Because the premise of the joke was an old man not knowing or thinking about who makes weed, i.e. old hippies.
Yes.
And not remembering how much weed he put in, and like, I don't know.
That's right. There you go. Yeah, because there's
Yeah.
no way of actually like measuring it because it's an old hippie making
Yeah.
it. Okay,
And he goes, how much am I supposed to eat of this? How many gummy bears am I supposed to eat? Just a leg. Like, that's the extent of it. Just like, oh, it's fucking that and that whole thing. And he kept everyone. It was fucking crazy.
I think just the style of Rogan is the reason maybe some people don't understand the intelligence of his comedy, or that just like a Chappelle, that there's an actual coherent story there and he's telling you something.
Yeah.
Like his whole bit about Benjamin Franklin or whoever is coming back going like, you guys didn't write any new shit?
Yeah. I wrote that with a feather.
Yeah. He's like, you got a phone in your pocket. Like, again, there's no reason to ruin it. It's on Netflix. Go watch it. It's fucking hilarious. But it's intelligent because it's kind of telling, it's bringing into light the whole issue of like, come on, like, think about it for a minute. Like,
it was kind of like what
we supposed to do some new shit?
Yeah.
Maybe we were.
It was kind of like what we were talking about earlier, like the self-deprecation part. Like, I'm going to shit on everyone, and I'm going to shit on them well, but I got to shit on myself first. So he shits on himself and then goes into, like, you morons didn't think that times changed enough to where we needed to write new shit?
Yeah, and then, like, his self-deprecation is usually, like, I look like an ape or I am an ape. Like, that's what he...
Yeah, he's just a dumb jock. Yeah.
Yeah, he goes to that, and it's good. It's a good leveler because everybody's like, sure, makes sense.
Yeah.
Or he almost, or he'll be like, the Fear Factor guy just taught you something.
Fucking, that's so funny.
And that's self-deprecation in itself because, like, you get it. Like, he knows the hilarity of being the host of a show that was so insane called Fear Factor. Like, he talks about it all the time. Like, everybody should have died a few times over.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, fucking that and
And the sheer disgustingness of some of the shit that they made him do. I never watched that show. I never could get into it. I was like, eh.
I've seen a couple, probably more like clips on Facebook than actual episodes I've seen, but like anytime someone's laid in bugs, I've seen that clip.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And
terrifying.
It's cringy.
Yeah.
Or rats or something. Still cringy. Like, I don't want to see any of this stuff. It's not fun for me.
Did you ever see the Dave Chappelle bit where Tyrone Biggums goes on Fear Factor and Rogan's actually on like the skit on Chappelle's show?
No.
So Tyrone Biggums is the crackhead character.
Yeah, I know.
And,
okay, yeah.
Yeah, and he's trying to win Fear Factor to win the money, and everyone's like, "I'm not getting in that fucking tub of worms. No, fuck that." And Tyrone just like took a nap in the worm tank. He's like, "Where's my money?"
Yep.
Oh man,
That's like the genius of a Chappelle.
Yeah.
Multifaceted, able to do various different things, and like Half Baked is still one of my favorite fucking comedy movies of all time.
So good. So it's so funny too that he even called it Half Baked because not only are they baked, but it started out as a half baked premise. And honestly, the whole movie, if you watch it sober, it kind of feels like a half baked premise.
Yeah.
But in such a great way that you just sit there and you're so into it.
Well, if you do, you know who Neil Brennan is? His
I love Neil Brennan.
Partner and writer. When he is speaking about Chappelle at the Mark Twain Award.
Oh, yeah.
He literally says that, like, Chappelle called him and says, hey, we're doing a weed movie with so-and-so if the studio calls. And then he's like, a month before we had to turn it in, I call him and he's like, what weed movie? So, like, it is half-baked. It seems like Neil's kind of, like, telling you, like, yeah, we kind of wrote it in 30 days and just kind of, like, gave him a draft and they were like, okay.
Yeah. It's Dave Chappelle, why not?
Dude,
yeah.
Stephen Wright is in that entire fucking movie. He's asleep on a couch until he wakes up to take a piss. That's it. The entire film, the dude is asleep on a couch. What the fuck?
So good. Oh, man.
And the cast, like, all of them are murderers as comedians.
Norm was on that, right? Norm Macdonald?
Norm's on that.
Yeah.
Stephen Wright is in there. Obviously, Dave Chappelle's in there. Harlan Williams is in there.
Fucking Harlan Williams.
I got to see Harlan Williams live here at Addison, actually.
Oh man, I tried to go to that show. I wanted to so badly.
If you want to see what truly a genius crowd working like the shit that he did, oh my god! Like, I don't know when he went into his bit and walked out of it and started working the crowd again. It was so fluid and it was so beautiful. And the people that were there, the comedians that had already seen him, like, I think the day before or something, like, it's completely different from what he did yesterday. And he's like, tomorrow will be completely different from today. He's like, it never fucking repeats.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there going, like, what goes on in that brain, dude?
Yeah.
Like, things he would pick up, crowd, like, there was this entire thing he did about, like, a bunch of people he thought they were, like, Catholic priests and shit. And, like, so he kept fucking riffing off them on that. And they had nothing to do with that. But, like, the whole crowd was crying, laughing. And he has this way of, like, guy, dude. Yeah, guy. Like, he says that. And you just can't help but laugh.
Canadians, man.
So, like, that cast is massive. I think, isn't Samuel L. Jackson in that movie, too?
Is he in that? That sounds familiar.
Doesn't he do a cameo or something?
I feel like you're right.
Why do I think that? I don't know. I thought he was in that. But, like, there's a bunch of people that, from that half-baked movie, are all names
Murderers.
that, like, everybody knows in comedy or in the entertainment industry, like in films. You're just like, how?
Yeah.
How did you know? How did Half-Baked do all this shit?
Part of that is Neil. No one gives him the props he deserves other than maybe Dave.
I'll give him his props because.
Have you watched Blocks?
Yes.
Oh, I
his
fucking
new
love
Netflix
that
special.
special.
It was really good.
Yeah, I loved Three Mics too, but it just
That was my first introduction to Neil Brennan as
Yeah.
a comedian, as a stand-up comic, and he has a place on this wall because of the way he innovates comedy. Like the Three Mics is so cool.
Yeah.
Blocks is really cool. His podcast is really interesting. So like, I'll give him his props anytime, dude. Like he is the other half of what is Chappelle's show and a bunch of other collaborations together.
that, and I love Blocks because it was such a weird, cool way to have something other than like your set list.
Yeah.
Because I have a really hard time remembering all of my bits I want to go through, so I have to walk over to my piece of paper and check my set list. And that's my biggest problem right now is remembering everything on its own. And that was such a cool, different way to not have to walk over to a piece of paper.
And I don't know how this will sound but I don't consider Neil Brennan a stand-up comedian. I consider him a storyteller.
Yeah.
Because Blocks, there's good funny moments in it, but more of it is so intriguing and interesting because it's so heartfelt and genuine.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not Tom Segura type of a special or Brett it's a very different type of a comedian.
He's trying to
serious shit that will make you laugh, but keep that serious tone the entire. Like him rearranging all those different little things in the places of the blocks is so beautiful and in a very theatrical way, not just a stand-up comedy way.
Yeah.
You get what I'm trying to like?
Yeah, it's
I'm not trying to dismiss him in any way. I'm trying to raise the guy higher up in
it's a different
strata.
bar because not only was it stand-up, it was almost like a one-man show.
So was Three Mics.
Yeah,
If you think about it.
Yeah, Three Mics was awesome like that too, and you're right. Like the way he did the whole bit in Blocks about how he wore that watch that shocked him every little bit to smile. That's not necessarily funny in it. That it became funny because Neil's a funny person, and but it was that one man show kind of trying to get people to relate with him so people don't feel as alone and stuff like that because he's in such a deep, different world of mental health advocacy and mental health, I guess, problems, you'd say, which I don't want to say because he might not want the word to be problem, but what he deals with his mental health.
Mental illness, I think, maybe is a better definition because, it's not a problem, it's an illness.
Yeah.
And it should be defined as. I think one of the things that not all comedians, most of them hide it really well, but Neil, when you look at the guy, you see someone tortured.
Yeah.
You genuinely see someone that's deeply hurt on a level that you just don't understand.
Yeah, and the way he goes through and describes it, like all the shit that he's been through to try and fix it and how none of it's helped.
Yeah.
Other than, I think he said the ayahuasca has been helping.
I think so, yeah. There was a part about it where he kind of went into it. Which, like, I don't know, it's kind of, it was a little sombering hearing the journey. It was funny, again, but it was a true work of genius for me as more of a one-man show, I think is a better way to put it than a stand-up comedy special in the general sense of it. Yeah,
it wasn't. Granted, that could be what stand-up is. He might just be one of these guys, but for the next generations. Like that could be what stand-up becomes.
Oh, Neil's definitely in that list.
Yeah.
He was already in that list of 25. He existed there because, again, he fell into an innovative person, not just a comedian, but again, multiple facets and different ways of making light of really serious situations and kind of like spoon feeding it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like making it digestible for everybody.
Yeah, I feel like a reason that Neil does so well is because no matter what, I feel like genuinely everyone wants to learn.
Yes.
And he's really good about teaching you and kind of delving into his stuff with tidbits of his life that kind of brought that about. And I forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, it's cool to see that and how different it's become.
Yeah, I think you're just kind of tying it together of why he is so different than the standard. Not that there's a standard model for being a stand-up comedian. That's bullshit. But like what we're used to, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, kind of what has become common.
Yes.
Yeah, and not even like, I can't even lump all the comics together and say that's what's common, because that's such a fucking wide variety of people and things that they do. I mean,
I think only 3 things bring commonality to comedians: the stage, the microphone stand, and the mic.
yeah,
Beyond that, it's fucking just whatever you have figured out as your voice.
Yeah.
Because there's all the comedians in the world that are respected are because they have their own unique voice.
yeah,
Be it a Gabriel Iglesias, like Fluffy, the way he does his comedy, be it Joe Rogan, Segura, name any of these people, you genuinely know their voice in your head because it's only unique to them.
yeah, yeah. The biggest thing that, like, I don't know why people ask me questions, because like I've said, I'm barely over 9 months at this point, and the only thing that I could give as advice is find who you are first, and then find the experiences that you have that no one else has had, and kind of work off that. I mean, it might not work if you're a joke writer instead of a storyteller like I am, but like, I'm about 90% sure that no one in my circumstance has a story about Des Bryant dunking on them. And that's also because there's a second part to that bit where, in all seriousness, a year later I was at a house party and he was at the house party too, just
Nice.
randomly. And I walked up, and just after kind of a second of like nervous small talk, I was like, "Do you remember dunking on me at a 24-hour fitness?" And he remembered me. Like,
Nice.
no one has that fucking experience.
Did you give him the bit?
No, I didn't. But I want to post it somewhere and tag him. See if the only downside at the very beginning, I remind everyone he pushed his mom down the stairs, so that might piss him off.
Maybe we can potentially clip it from this podcast where that mom part doesn't exist, and that could become the, hey, look at you.
Exactly.
Why not? Give him a semi-clean version of it so it works better.
Yeah.
To that note, we did throw something in a sidebar. Why do you hate Rocky, man?
Okay. It's because everyone loves Rocky and talks about Rocky a lot.
Wait.
When, in my personal opinion, it's not that great of a movie.
What? Why?
The dialogue pisses me off. And anyone that, like, when I say that, people are like, but Rocky wrote it. I'm like, yeah, have you ever heard Sylvester Stallone talk? He sounds like a fucking legit mentally challenged person, and so does the dialogue in that movie. Adrian, you like turtles? Bang. I get what it has. I get that
that's what actually makes it good. If the guy was well articulate and intellectual, you would never get into it with him, because at the time, what it was trying to convey is that any blue collar guy that, like, the shot in a million can happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not to say anything against, like, or, to defend. I don't know the guy. I don't know what his linguistic abilities are or are not. I wouldn't put them up there with, the finest of literature or films. It's no Schindler's List or whatever, the Citizen Kane, to just, But when it comes down to entertainment value, I think it had to be written in that specific dumbed down version where almost everybody can relate to it. Because, like, the people that are not going to relate to it are the people that still wouldn't relate to a boxing movie to begin with.
Yeah.
It's usually the people that don't care about, like, I love boxing as a sport. That's why I love the Rocky movies, because I think, warriors, combat, it's interesting. It's been going on forever, and it's still relevant today.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love USC. So, like, I'm on the other side of the spectrum where I'm like, but Rocky was supposed to be stupid for it to actually work.
Yeah, okay, you're the first person that's ever made that argument, and I'll say that, and it's also the best argument that has been had for Rocky for me. Honestly, before smoking weed, I never would have considered myself a creative. I was definitely more of maybe even like a jock or a theoretical person. Like, I was really kind of decent at school growing up. And as soon as I smoked weed, that was kind of when comedy really started. That's when I first started writing down jokes. It's because it kind of flipped my perspective a little bit, enough to where I could get different ideas and kind of wrap these comparisons together. Like,
So maybe it is not a dilution principle. It's the exact opposite. It makes it even more. I don't know what the word is. I can't think of it right now. It's killing me though, because I should know this word. It's,
it's always the ones you should know.
Viscosity? No, that's just the thickness of something. Damn it. All right, whatever. Forget it. I'm not even going to try anymore. But whatever heightens, I think, is kind of what you're saying. Is like you smoked weed and you're like, oh, I could be funny. I am funny. Let me try this shit.
Yeah, and that's when the first time, like, I'm not good at writing while high. It never turns out the right way. But if I write down something while I'm high, usually it's a good premise. And then when I'm sober again, I can kind of work with it and then work it from there. Yeah, so I kind of got different avenues. Like, we were talking about this earlier. I do my shit, or I figure out a joke from the start in the shower in my car.
Yes.
I don't sit down and like, all right, I'm going to write a topic about furries. And then I just sit there and
You saw the Met Gala, didn't you?
No, I just have a joke about furries that I need to bring back.
Jared Leto was dressed as a cat furry. That's it. I'm not saying anything else.
I will. He's been on a steady decline since Dallas Buyers Club.
I thought he did a really interesting job. And I'm trying to remember the movie correctly. I think it was Blade Runner 2042.
Okay, I heard that was good. I didn't see it.
Blade Runner, I've seen that movie a few dozen times. I was just trying to make sure Leto wasn't. Yes, Leto is the main bad guy, the protagonist in there, and he does an amazing job.
Okay.
Like, as acting goes, just top notch for me, my opinion. But then I mean, he's working with like Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford, so he's got
he's got the
game,
star-studded cast. Yeah. I don't know much about Jared Leto movie-wise other than Dallas Buyers Club, and then after that, the shitty Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that was horrifying.
Yeah, that one was so bad, and then the new one was so great. I fucking loved that movie so much.
The new one was good.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that DC didn't become the prevailing studio for superhero films, because as much as I love Marvel, as much as I've seen all the Marvel is the kid version of what DC is, and this version of me wants that.
Yeah,
I want
the
DC
dark
universe to be so good.
Did you like The Boys?
Keeps failing. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, you would like it.
But I did like the Schneider cut of.
Schneider cut was awesome.
Yeah, that movie originally was so bad.
Yeah.
It was so bad, and I'm happy it was almost 4 hours or whatever it was with this.
You
with
sit
his
down and
cut.
watching. Yeah.
I've seen it 3 or 4 times. It was that good.
Yeah.
I mean, not recently, but like when I wanted to watch a movie, it was that good. I was like, okay, I'll put more time into this.
The one thing is, and
I
honestly,
was a DC kid when I was growing up. I never was a Marvel kid. Like,
see, I was
Batman,
a Marvel
Superman
kid.
Were my dudes.
Yeah. See, I don't like Superman because Superman is just too OP. The only time Superman, like, other than the Kryptonius rock or magic, which never comes up enough, that Superman is like impervious or not impervious, it gets weak when magic is being used. He has to fight one of his own kind. They're grasping at straws. It seems like you're like, all right, we wrote this super badass, awesome character, and now we have no one to fight him.
True. But like in alternate universes and stuff, Superman does some crazy shit. I think DC had like spin-offs and stuff.
Yeah.
I think there was even a version where there's like Superman versus Nazis or something. I think there's something like I remember something like that. And they're like space alien Nazis or something. It's weird.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, I feel like this was a Superman like graphic novel or something that came out a long time ago.
Honestly, when it comes to Marvel, now I'm really just kind of into the anti-hero scene. Because that's the only things that aren't like childish anymore.
So like
Deadpool is my guy.
Yeah.
I fucking love Deadpool. I accidentally, like, when I was first starting out, I would basically kind of talk like Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
Because I love Deadpool so much, and I fucking just kind of not even doing Ryan Reynolds, I was doing Deadpool. It's just because he made me laugh so fucking much, like a comedian would, because Ryan Reynolds is a good comedic actor. And up to recently, where they're saying the new Spider-Man movie is going to be rated R.
Really?
Yeah,
What
with
the-
Craven the Manhunter or Craven the Hunter or whatever his name is, and I think they teased the idea of bringing Rhino back.
Really?
Yeah,
How
so
are
it's
they gonna do this?
I don't
Didn't
know
he die?
Rhino or
I thought Rhino got killed in one of those X-Men movies. Or am I confusing everything right now? I could be confusing everything.
I don't know. You might be thinking of Juggernaut.
That's right. Juggernaut did get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, my favorite part of Deadpool is when he takes forever to die.
It's so good.
He's just sitting there going like, more.
That just the little tags he gives people, like, God damn it! I think about the Domino, the girl.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Shut up, Black Widow."
And then I also love like how he'll what do they call it in filmmaking? Break the
Fourth wall.
fourth wall, and he'll just be like, all this money and couldn't get the X-Men to show up or something. Something to that
His
effect.
name rhymes with Pulverine.
Also, that was hilarious. How he was camping out and shit in front of the thing, Hugh Jackman's house, trying to get him to do the role again.
Yeah.
Have you seen the thing he did with the soccer player Beckham?
Oh yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. After saying he sounded like someone mouth sexed a can of helium.
My favorite part is when he comes with the mariachi band.
Oh yeah. I forgot
Like,
about
it's
that.
So out of
So
left
funny.
field. You're like,
Did you ever see the Deadpool commercial with Fred Savage where he's shitting on Nickelback and Deadpool walks in and goes, "Hey, Nickelback isn't that bad." And then he starts singing the lyrics to like "Reminds Me of," and then Fred Savage starts singing along. He's like, "See, you don't need to be a mainstream kid. Just because everyone hates it doesn't mean you need to."
why did the world universally hate Creed? I never understood that.
I don't. It was because
They were just like any other pop rock band of the time. Why did they get the hate?
Something about it was because the lead singer of Nickelback
Yes.
was known to be like kind of a frat personality and douchebag.
Okay.
And then one person that was like of power or people knowing of them said they hated Nickelback, and then I think it just became a mainstream like internet joke.
Yeah, because like even your generation hates Nickelback, dude.
That's the thing is I
And they
fucking
haven't
love
existed
Nickelback
forever.
Yeah, I fucking love Nickelback. I'll stand by them to the day that I die because I'm white trash through and through.
So you're a Nickelbacker.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, they have their bad songs. I love Nickelback, and I refuse to ever listen to Photograph. It's not a great song, but they have awesome rock songs. And like, if you work out, fucking go through some of Nickelback's earlier stuff. It will be incredible. Like, there was I don't know if you ever watched the WWE.
No, you're losing me here.
Yeah,
With like
yeah.
Nickelback, WWE.
And then I told you, I'm white trash through and through. But
Fair enough. You keep your white trash card.
at one point, like the WWE theme song was a Nickelback song, so that was part of it too. It was like
So it's like an extra haterade.
yeah, it was like if you hate WWE, then you also hate Nickelback, and then you could just shit on one group of people all at once.
And there are two groups easy to shit on.
Oh
Let's be
yeah.
honest
Oh,
here.
we're terrible people. I mean, we're the type of people to tuck in our polos to our cargo shorts.
I was talking about the wrestlers and the Nickelback.
They're the
band.
same people.
Again, you said it, not me. But
Exactly.
I'm not gonna do that. No, I mean I get exactly what you're saying, and again, I was just like curious, like why do we all hate them so much?
Yeah,
For
I
no
don't.
reason.
That and some people can't get past his voice, and I definitely understand that.
Dude, if you're good, you're good. If you're not, you're just not.
Yeah.
Can we just stop it there?
There's
Seriously.
there's something to that with the comedian game. Like right now, I understand why they do it, but I get annoyed when I see a show's list, like set list of people coming on, and I know that there's just a girl in the lineup because they wanted a girl in the lineup for like gender equality's sake. But they're missing out on someone that's really good because they wanted a girl. And
I don't care how this sounds, but that list of 25 only had one female on it.
who was it?
Eliza Schlesinger.
Oh, she's really fucking funny.
She's one, like not just my favorite female comedian. She's just one of my favorite comedians. She's just
Yeah.
that good.
Yeah.
Elder Millennium is one of the funniest specials I've seen.
Have you seen Tom's wife's specials?
Christina?
Yes.
She's funny, but she's not my brand of funny.
Yeah, I get that. She's very high energy, and it's a lot.
She appeals to a different crowd.
Yeah.
And she does have she has amassed amazing following. I feel like maybe I'm not in the right age bracket somehow. Something about it just doesn't. I see the funny, it just doesn't hit me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like genuinely, it's good. It's great material. It's funny stuff. Just not for me.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the other female comedians that I don't just know to say. Like I know to say Joan Rivers. I've never seen Joan Rivers stuff other than like people basically do Joan Rivers impressions. And those always kill me. And I know Joan Rivers is like one of those top dogs, but I've never seen a special or anything from her.
She was just never on my radar.
Yeah.
I think it was just too far out of like.
It was a long time ago.
There's a huge generational gap, so it just didn't do it for me.
I've never seen her stand up, but I always laugh when she's on screen as Wanda Sykes.
Yes.
I fucking love Wanda Sykes.
But I've seen Wanda's stand up, and again, just not my brand of humor.
Yeah, she's one of those, like, if she had a podcast, she'd be amazing. But it's like Theo. That's how I feel like Theo is. His stand-up is okay, but him on a podcast is fucking outrageously 100 times better.
Because he says some stuff that you just don't understand.
Yeah, him just being him.
Fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so fucking funny. Like, I mean, he's part of that group of comedians that, because of social media, brought comedians back. Because the amount of people that I hear just bring up Theo Von. I'm like, oh, you like Theo Von? Do you listen to any other comedians? Like, oh, he's a comedian? I just know him from his podcast.
And almost nobody in this current probably knows him from like his MTV days.
Yeah, no one knows him from Road Rules or
The Real House.
was he on Guy Code too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like,
see, I didn't even watch any of that.
I knew him from the Road Rules day because
yeah,
we were the MTV generation. We watched that shit religiously.
Yeah.
And when MTV still had music.
Yeah, I wish they never got rid of that. Like someone who never watched MTV, like I would. The amount of time I spent on YouTube growing up listening to music videos and just watching those, I would have spent so much more time on MTV if that was what it was.
The other one was BET at the time, and
Yeah.
they were straight up music for the most part.
I didn't even know that. I thought BET was always just kind of like black entertainment from film's side.
It's called Black Entertainment Television, but BET was this huge place for rap music and other black artists that were coming up. So there was a lot of music that was played there. And then there was this other thing, if I'm not mistaken, it was called Box.
I've never heard of Box.
Yeah, nobody heard about Box. It was a cable TV channel thing.
Gotcha.
And, like I briefly saw it one, you know.
I
They
did
played
just
music.
I did just think of one more female comedian. I'm probably missing a billion that I love. But do you know who Miss Pat is?
I know who Miss Pat is.
Oh, fucking.
And her show is hilarious. And
I
she's
wish I could.
so
I
funny
need to
on
watch the Miss
podcasts.
Pat show and her on podcast. I don't know if I've ever seen her do stand up, but I'm putting her in the list.
I've seen her do stand up. She's funny, and I might need to revisit that name because for some reason it wasn't on my mind when I was kind of like jotting. That's the other thing is like it's so hard to kind of remember everybody.
Yeah, and she wouldn't be an up here kind of comic because she's not doing a whole lot that's innovative to the scene, but she's great. She's awesome. I know that.
And for the like, there's 6 comedians on this, and they're all males. Eliza, like part of that 2-hour struggle was figuring out putting her up here. And I swear to God, the only reason I didn't, I'm not even gonna lie about this, couldn't find a normal fucking headshot to print out. That's it. Please put a normal headshot out that I can put you on this damn. I swear to God, it was either too low quality or it was copyrighted and had like a watermark on it, so I couldn't use.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, maybe it's a sign. Like you shouldn't be here until you get a normal headshot that I can use. But yeah, like I don't know. That was one of those really hard. I spent an hour trying to search the internet to find a good headshot for her, but couldn't.
Yeah, I wonder, like, is it really just because, like, it's so much harder for a female comedian to be as open as a guy is, just stereotypically, like, with information? Because I could totally understand where a woman wouldn't want to be as open as I am about like watching black guys in porn.
Or maybe just women don't have the interest level to be stand-up comedians
That's
in
true.
the same amount as men. This
Yeah.
is why the pool of stand-up comedian women, especially the good ones, is so small because 98% is probably guys
Yeah.
trying to be stand-up. And again, it's not like it's a sexism thing or whatever because it's open mics. Anybody
Yeah.
can go up and do whatever the hell
Exactly.
they want. And if you're funny, you'll just keep moving up.
That and go to any open mic and look at the list. There will be at best 4 female comedians.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, and it is what it is. But we'd love to see more. Any dude is not like, oh fuck female comedian. No, like bring on anyone.
I want funny. I don't care where
Yeah.
mouth is coming out of.
Yeah,
I just want funny.
If there's 26 people signed up on this open mic list, I want to be beating 25 funny people. It doesn't matter if you have a vagina or a penis or both or none. I don't give a shit. I want to be funnier than you.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely understand that.
Yeah.
What is it, the saying, iron sharpens iron?
Yeah,
Or is that...
the iron sharpens.
I thought it was iron sharpens iron.
It's something along those lines,
But
or
it's
either like diamonds can only cut diamonds or something like that.
Something to the effect of
Yeah.
like, good makes you good, better makes you better kind
Yeah.
of a thing. You know what I mean? And I completely understand where you're coming from. But to that point, maybe it's just one of those things that women don't want to do.
Yeah, I could.
Not
yeah.
that they don't see a path, no, they just don't want to do it. Maybe it's just not their forte.
Yeah,
I can completely see that as being normal and acceptable too. This is why that list of really funny, amazing female comedians is small.
yeah. It's also more tried and true too. Like maybe more than like the guys are in that perspective because there were way more guy comedians.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like you could go over like we just did. Like we were trying to name these female comedians, and the ones that are out there that we didn't name probably are for good reason. Like I never liked what's her name? White lady, blonde hair.
Amy Schumer?
Yes. Yeah.
Or are you talking
No,
about Chelsea Lately?
No. Yeah, Amy Schumer was.
Okay.
I never got it. And
I
it's
don't
not
think a lot of people did.
Yeah, it's not from the same perspective. Like I heard my dad say one time, like I don't like how much she talks about her vagina.
I agreed. I agree with your dad on that one. She's funnier as an actress,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
The
She's talented as an actress too.
Yeah. The whole other thing with like the vagina thing though is that's just if they couldn't do a joke about their vagina, we shouldn't be able to do a joke about our dicks. Like I see it like that.
Here's the difference. Dick jokes resonate to men and women because usually the dick joke is about too small, too big, too whatever.
Yeah,
You
and the women has felt that before. A lot
Beyond
of
that, women are very happy to partake in men's self-deprecation, whereas men usually don't really like to partake in women's self-deprecation because
we're trying to
we
get laid.
don't understand cramps and periods and all.
Yeah.
But a small versus a big dick, it's a visual thing. Everybody fucking gets it, and you can make funny out of it if you're good.
Yeah, and
You know
if
what I mean?
if you've been with it, if you're a lady that's been with a dick before, you've experienced probably both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something along the lines of where we can all find common grounds, but you lose us completely with the vagina because we don't experience 95% of what happens, and to be honest, 90% of what happens we don't want to fucking know about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally, if you think about it, the guy only has one reason to think about that, and that's it.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, it's just like, no, please keep it,
Yeah, that is one thing. Like, I don't know what it is about the dick other than maybe it just looks so silly in and of itself.
It gets in the fucking way, too.
Yeah.
Versus the other thing, it does not get in the way. It is literally made not to.
Yeah.
Ours, depending on size, can be a nuisance in certain situations.
That is why I do love the woman's what's the word? The nickname for the vagina being axe wound.
Yeah.
I love hearing that. The only thing you could do with like a guy joking about a lady's vagina in that a girl could joke about a guy's vagina is like, I had something once where I would try and say, I knew this girl who just whistled in the wind if you catch my drift. It was like throwing a hot dog down a hallway kind of situation like that. But even at that point, I felt bad saying that in comparison to like telling a dick joke about myself.
Makes sense.
Yeah, like that. It felt like a stretch of me trying to be. It was bordering the line where it was just mean. I mean, I didn't even bring her name up. I'm like, she didn't. That's, meh.
Exactly.
It seemed in poor taste.
And this is why Eliza is so funny to me. Is she never really does shit like that.
Yeah.
She will call out women on the funny stuff that men can resonate and connect with, like being drunk, bachelorette parties, and they're very deep and complex thoughts, and they're very funny, but they never go into that icky, weird cringe.
Yeah.
They're always, this is what makes her so damn good, is she's able to toe that line of keeping both sides, male and female, and everything in between, really happy because they're laughing at stuff that's relevant.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of it. So,
yeah. You're right.
And on that note, I think we're at 3.5 hours at this point. I'm just chit-chatting away.
Yeah, and it went by quick.
Yeah. So, again, thank you for doing this.
Yeah,
this
man.
Was awesome. Tell people where they can find you on the socials.
Yeah, okay. So, I really just kind of keep up with my Insta, which my Instagram is at @pbailey_comedy. And then every once in a while, I try and get back on TikTok. I'm not good about TikTok. But if you want to follow me, it is Paxton with a B. Paxton Bailey. So you switch my first initials _00 on TikTok. But
You're just trying not to be found.
yeah.
You're doing your best not to be located.
Dude, my mom fucking never once let me down or let me have just like a social media account that she didn't have to follow. So I blocked like at least 40 different accounts my mother has made to follow me on social media. It's ridiculous. And now she's allowed to follow. I just don't care at this point. But
Fair enough.
Yeah. Back in the day, she was like, I'm 16. I want to make dick and poop jokes. And if you find them, you're going to yell at me.
That's fair. Paxton, thank you again. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, man.
Follow him on the socials. See him. By the way, do you only do Texas right now, or are you on the road too?
I only do Texas right now. I'd love to get to a point where I'm doing more. But I'm still kind of being figured out in this scene.
So check out Paxton on his socials. He'll have dates and stuff coming up, I'm sure, when he's going to be available in the Dallas area. Really funny guy. I'm sure you're going to be blowing up sooner or later, man.